We just got done marathoning the second half of book 3. That being Sean and I, my friend, who has never seen the series before.
Book 3. What's
book 3?
Is that a good series?
That's a good 3. A good 3 series. Book 3. Watch book 3.
How long do snails sleep? 3.
3. Yeah, dude. Book 3. Book 3.
So tell me about this show.
Book 3.
Okay. No, enough of the joke. We've done it. We've done the joke.
We've already killed it.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar, the book 3 bender.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Avatar, the book 3. Tell me about it. Why don't you tell me about it? What did you think of this?
Yeah, it was good, I suppose.
Okay.
I watched this is my first time watching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Well, no, okay, good thing to mention. Not only is it your first time seeing it, but you knew absolutely like nothing about it, basically.
Yeah. Like all I knew was like there's like a bald kid. And there's there's lesbians in the next one.
Oh yeah.
And then there's like memes like, oh, the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's a pretty funny meme.
Yeah. Well, that's all I've seen. So
yeah, that
was all I really knew. And I thought like Aang was like some kind of like hardcore edgelord, like because he always looks like angry in the promo material.
Yeah, for some reason, all the covers and especially the DVD, like promo images, he's like ultra edgy.
Whereas like in the show, he's just like fucking like little smiling all the time.
Except
so I was like pleasantly surprised because I was worried he was going to be like an annoying cunt.
Or like a edgy skinhead.
Am I swearing too much for this?
You know, swearing. This is a children's cartoon.
Actually, I don't know. Don't like people. Respectable people listen to this.
Respectable
people.
Respected individuals listen to these.
Yeah.
Apparently they do. Sidetracking slightly, I made 3 more of these talking about the other books of Avatar, not their own separate series. They span across like 7 hours of just me talking.
Oh yeah, you did like 3.
Yeah.
Of those.
A bit of a backstory on those. Not as a cash grab, but I kind of did those just to make like content. Like not like, you know, no passion. Like I obviously really like this series, and I was talking about it like because it interests me. But at the same time, I kind of just recorded those when I was like half asleep, and it's kind of me like literally like ranting.
That's pretty fun. That's kind of comfy.
It kind of is. Like, I mean, because like I'm just sitting down. I mean, honestly, like people who don't do YouTube stuff or don't do like recording, or I wouldn't call this like performance, but it's, you know, you're keeping up dialogue with someone or with, you know, your own self with your microphone with the audience. Doing that for 3 hours is a death wish, basically.
That's impressive. I have not seen or
you don't
tried
want
to.
You really don't want to, but apparently several thousand people have, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Whoa. I mean, basically, like I got the whole world's population tuned in on me.
Stop making all this video essay stuff.
Yeah, I should stop making high quality content. Make crap.
Yeah. No, you realize? People like listening to you on your.
Just little autistic rants about children's cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny actually, because the YouTube algorithm is swayed towards having longer videos with higher audience retention, which is probably why they've had as much spread as they have. Yeah. Actually, I think one of them almost has as many views as the video essay I actually made on Avatar, which is kind of ironic
I can watch
as well.
That now.
Oh yeah, you can. It's not very good. It's probably the worst one I've made, just because the narration is bad. Anyway, getting sidetracked. I made those ages ago, like 7 or 8 months ago, and I made them all in a pretty short time span because I rewatched the series as part of making a video essay. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to talk about this, and then it turned out that I just like ranted a bunch, and then I can't believe that they actually like exist on the internet. Like I don't even think I properly edited them or edited out mistakes in parts, and I'm like, you know, I'm not going to rewatch like 7 hours of my own content.
So this is the real one. This is
the real one. I've actually got someone in here because the issue with the other ones is it's just me talking, and you can like, it's great. What you do is you start at the beginning, and then you just do 20-minute skips in the video. So you go 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes in, and you can just hear me becoming like more and more dead and tired, and my voice giving up. But with this, hopefully, Sean and I can bounce back and forth, and the kind of idea is, Sean's seen the series once. I've probably seen it like 10,
Like I just
10
finished it
plus
right
times.
now.
I've got a quite solid, very solid understanding of the series. Sean had like never seen it before. And yeah, so yeah, we just finished marathoning the last half of this, so from episode like 50 to 61, which is a pretty good like section to marathon.
Yeah, I reckon it all kind of that was a nice flowed well. I suppose it was all a nice like thing.
Yeah, because like what I found watching the series a lot, like obviously the whole thing is broken up into 3 seasons. Each season has about 20 episodes, and each season is roughly broken down into 10 episode halves. So like beginning of book 2 to the library episode is like we're going on fun adventure, and then from the library episode it's like
that's when like the actual plot starts.
There's even like a joke about that at the beginning of the episode where Sokka's like, what are we doing? Like, how are we going to find the Fire Nation? We need to do this and this and this and this, and then it's like, oh, okay, the plot starts, funnily enough, exactly halfway through the whole show. And then same with book 3, where the first half of the season kind of goes back to that like book 1, we're having fun adventures, crazy kind of things happening, and then in the second half it's like we are invading the Fire Nation, and then these are the consequences, and now this is, and then at the end of the whole show.
Wasn't the whole like in first like part of book 3, like they're doing all that stuff like in the Fire Nation school, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, normally
I like that episode.
It's actually the Footloose episode. I can't actually remember what that's called, but it's just copying Footloose. I think that's a common kind of thing people wonder about. This is the, what is it, like we're gonna go dance in a cave episode where Aang goes to Fire Nation school, which sounds like the worst idea possible for an episode.
Yeah.
And I used to not really like that episode, but now I've seen the light.
I liked it. Yeah,
it's actually like really great and funny, and it's like okay, cool.
And it's interesting. It's like insight into life.
Yeah.
These guys.
Well, that's really one of the things I kind of like about this series, is the sense that the Fire Nation are actual just people. Like you get that sense early on because Iroh is like always a like funny, good character, and
like Zuko, you sympathize with him like from the get-go almost. Like
it's only in book 2
no, I mean like there's
the Storm episode, but
wait, what's the Storm
that's episode? The episode 12 of book 1. It's the flashback to him getting burned. It kind of
actually this is something like I would say that actually in the first season, one of the episodes where he's doing some duel with some other commander that's like a dick.
Oh, with Zhao? Yeah,
and he's like you're already like he's like one of your protagonists, like anti-hero protagonists. You sympathize with him.
It's actually kind of a weird setup they have, and it's kind of cool because the thing is Zuko gets shit done.
Yeah, well, you're barracking for him.
Oh, not that early though, because the thing is
you are. But I mean, like functionally, you are. Like he's like, I want him to win in this conflict.
I kind of disagree there. It's like a lesser of two evils. Because
but that's still like you're not well, I don't know, I'm not like when you're watching the show you're not like being I have moral opinion on all the characters.
No.
I mean I'd say the audience is definitely set up to be you're following his character and you want him to like not like
you're talking specifically in that fight with Zhao, or perhaps, but so that's why I was saying a lesser of two evils, because Zhao is more like objectively being a dick in that fight. From memory, he cheats in that fight.
But you're still like, but that's setting you up to prefer Zuko.
True, but that's like what, episode like 4, and then for the rest of the series, like that season, he's like a huge cunt to everyone. So it's like besides episode 12 where he's just sympathetic, and you kind of. Well, I think this is Aaron Ehaz actually wrote this, and he was one of the he's kind of the quote-unquote like true mastermind behind the series.
Creator? Like
no,
he was, but you would say he's like a big player in it?
The conspiracy idea that I hold is that, and a lot of people hold, I think, is that the actual creators, Brian and Mike,
shit.
You got to give them credit where it's due. They came up with a really cool concept with a lot of like structural perfection. Like it isn't just like whoa, this is like a cool world. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I could talk about how like clever bending is as an actual like special ability gimmick tool in a series, it's almost like flawless. Obviously, the execution of that is more important. And I think that's where Aaron Ehas, who was like the head writer of the whole series, and also
he was able to kind of clean things up.
Well, not clean things up. The idea is he wrote all of the best episodes in the show, and he kind of like, and basically the idea is Brian and Mike, the creators, are like George Lucas, and the actual people who knew what they were doing fixed everything.
Yeah.
But one of the ideas that Aaron has had, was that characters should be fascinating and interesting rather than likable. Which is, I mean, that not the best.
That makes sense. Sorry, did I like? But that's like definitely like most of the characters.
Oh, I mean,
no, sorry, most of the ones that stand out in your mind.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of fucked up that phrasing. What I meant was, there's a lot of characters that have definitely been conceived following that sort of maxim.
Yes, definitely. I mean, not like you don't have characters who have like likable traits, but Zuko is definitely, especially in book 2, where he's like actually being conflicted. I think book 2 is when he starts to be the victim, not victim character, but he starts to be the very noticeably sympathetic character.
I liked him more then than I did in book 3, because in book 2 he's interesting, and he's also like he's like a lone wolf himself.
Yeah.
In book 3, he's like just becomes like fucking cucked to the Avatar.
I like first half of season 3 Zuko. I mean, I like his character for the whole thing, but like, yeah, definitely rewatching this again. Every time, yet again, when you rewatch this, there's like a different perspective on certain things. His character is like very noticeably has this kind of. I mean, the conflict makes sense of him changing sides, but I feel like there's not really like that much set up for it. Almost like the actual moment when the Day of Black Sun episode comes, he's like already writing a letter to say goodbye to May, and he's like packing up his stuff, and he's gonna like go confront his father.
I'm doing what was, I'm doing what I should have done.
You know how old the voice actor for him is?
You telling me this? I can't remember.
He's like, I think he's like mid-40s now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can see that, but yeah, no.
You ever seen the film Hook?
Yeah.
He was like a child actor in that film.
Yeah, I think you told me that, but I can't remember like anything about that movie.
It's really strange, because the Zuko voice is like his speaking voice.
Yeah.
And so you're like, what the fuck? Like, okay. I mean, typically that happens for voice actors, but it's especially weird for a child.
You know what else?
It's just like Fallout voice actors.
Yeah, okay, there was a Fallout.
Yeah.
Not only, like, I was thinking, well, in this one, because I was thinking Fallout voice actor mainly because he had that whole, like, hey, Voltec calling, like, intonation going on.
Oh, yeah.
But I was also thinking, like, Metal Gear Solid as well. But, Aang, apparently his voice actor, okay, you know the movie The Ant Bully?
Yeah, he's in that, isn't he?
I kind of want to watch that again, because he was the main kid voice actor for that.
Is he?
Yeah. I remember being forced to watch that in first year of middle school. It's like, bullying.
Anti-bullying. Yeah. Don't bully ants.
And I was just thinking, like, there's one, like, he's like, I can just imagine, like, I remember him saying, like, that's inhuman! Like, and I can just imagine Aang saying that.
Oh, that's funny that, like, the voice actor for Aang is in, like, an anti-bullying film, essentially.
Well, why is that funny?
His, like, his character being, like, a pacifist, being, like, anti-violent. I don't know.
That's not very funny.
That's not funny? Okay. May as well just fucking kill myself.
You don't edit these parts out, by the way.
I don't edit these parts out. These are all staying in. This is all part of the 3-hour qualitative quality experience.
What else? Yeah.
Zach Tyler Eckerson, who is the voice actor for Aang.
Yeah.
He didn't do like anything else.
Yeah, that's what I saw as well.
Don't know why.
Well, yeah, I was thinking.
I don't know how does that even happen. Like
catch a mind disease. Like, oh, I'm sad.
But here's the thing, because
maybe he went into puberty, and he wasn't good anymore.
I don't know. Like, honestly, I think his performance is like okay across the series. Like, he does a pretty good job. Yeah. Honestly.
Maybe he just like couldn't. Maybe like because they're like, you're the Avatar kid voice actor, and then it's like once maybe his voice broke, and it's like, well.
That just seems kind of unlikely. I don't know. Like the series was like it wasn't just like cult popular. It like did really well
Oh, yeah.
commercially. Like obviously it got like a film adaptation.
Maybe he just
that failed, but
fucking didn't want to keep doing that.
maybe it seems like because like that happens with kid actors, but typically it's like they do one movie, right?
Yeah,
But Avatar went for like 61 episodes. It aired across like 3 years.
That's a lot of voice acting.
That is, and you're like the main character as well.
Did you know he apparently did it by satellite?
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Wow,
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that. Okay,
That's
crazy.
strange to me.
Yeah,
I don't know how that would work.
people do voice acting by satellite all the time. I can't imagine like not doing it in person
Yeah, like how do you respond to other...
by satellite apparently. That especially for like 2005, that must have been kind of slow. Yeah. How do you do that? I guess you just know your lines well. To be fair, I mean, actors like literally phone in lines for voice acting like all the time. Because obviously not going to be able to get everyone in the studio because that's like really expensive. Voice acting is always so weird, or just like the creation of like cartoons or anime where it's like trying to conceive that like nothing that is happening is real.
I'm trying to think, like, I try to think of like the mindsets of the people. Like, what are they imagining?
I guess. Well, I mean, in some cases, you would be responding to other people's lines.
Oh yeah.
That were pre-recorded. But
I wonder.
Anyway, the television series, Book 3, the TV series, Avatar, the TV series. We briefly touched on like some things, but what did you actually think of Book 3 as a whole, though?
I found but we had a bit of a hiatus in our watching, so it's a bit it's a bit hard for me to judge as a whole because I kind of got well, for me, for the thing like between Book 2 and Book 3, those just kind of blurred together a bit for me.
Yeah, definitely. Like, because it's kind of strange because in my memory I've always like elevated Book 2 like quite a bit above Book 3.
Yeah.
Mainly because the series finale of Book 3 has always left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
But whenever I think back on it, I'm like, okay, so you've got some good episodes, right? Like you got like the Day of Black Sun episodes, which are like decent. You got the Bloodbending episode. I kind of like Southern Raiders, which is the Katara revenge one. You've got other ones, The Runaway, where Toph is like scamming money out of people. Like, like they're good, but I'd always just kind of go, yeah, it's like it's not Book 2 basically. But
were you different this time?
Yeah, rewatching it, I actually really, really liked, especially the first half, especially like filler episodes. I mean,
the
Painted Lady is like my least favorite episode of the whole show.
But it's still...
No, I actually really I'm not a big fan of that one at all.
You like it more? You like it less than Great Divide?
Yeah, I don't know. Great Divide actually has like jokes. Like Great Divide's like dumb as fuck, but like,
what's the running gag in the Painted Lady? That guy.
The chew and shoo and boo.
Yeah,
or
what
something.
the fuck?
And it's like
I just found that so funny because it's like I don't. What the
it's
fuck
almost
is
like anti-comedy because it goes on for like.
Yeah. Like I just
It's like an off joke that isn't funny. That's the main joke that goes. That they bring it back more than almost any other joke that you would in an episode.
You know, when I was just thinking about Book 2 and Book 3, I was thinking one thing that I liked, that I found fun watching Book 2 is because it was building, like everything was building up hype, like shit.
Book two is the oh shit at end of every episode.
Introducing all these cool elements and everything tying together really nicely.
The Basing Se arc in particular.
Yeah,
obviously.
definitely.
Yeah,
especially when like Azula and all that.
Yeah, that scene where Azula and like the gang turn up as the Kyushu warriors.
And then like they start like infiltrate like the Daily.
Yeah, I love the Daily like. Yeah, Book 2 will never cease to amaze me. Like, actually, this is something to talk about. Like Book 3 noticeably being quote unquote darker. I hate to even like have to like discuss that as a thing because the what would you even call it, like the zeitgeist around like, man, the series is so dark, it's so mature. And this because you haven't seen Legend of Korra obviously.
No.
But that's something that season of that series is always like lauded for its
that one's like the serious.
Yeah, apparently like it isn't, but it's like the Legend of Korra deals with mature issues like this and this and this and this, and it's like okay, it doesn't. It's mature in the same way that like Revenge of the Sith is mature, where it's like
yeah,
the younglings, Anakin.
Oh no, you know,
Okay.
oh whoa, it's like they're dealing with like galactic politics.
Yeah, dude. Whoa, like the Galactic Senate, and I got to take, all these powers. Whoa. It's dark, because there's a guy called Darth Sidious, Dark Sidious.
Ironic.
Wow, it's pretty,
Anyway,
pretty good writing, George Lucas. But, it's something where it's like, the tone is noticeably kind of bleaker, I suppose. But then again, and that's something that people seem to praise Book 3 for, like a little bit, especially the bloodbending episode, I think is like, is kind of infamous for that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I used to like not be like huge on the episode. I was always like, oh, it's kind of cool that they did that.
Yeah, I was like, for me, like the first time watching this, I was like, oh yeah.
But watching it again, there's some really, really cool things in it. One of the things I really like, and this is something that's really cool for characters to do. So like Katara's going off with old, creepy puppet bloodbending woman who's like, hey, I've got the secrets of bloodbending. And, while the gang are like, we got to figure out, why all these people are disappearing. And they're like completely wrong for the entire episode. They're like, oh, it must be a spirit thing. Which is great, because it's not only like, they're completely wrong about it, but it's like that is like an absolutely perfect idea for them to have.
But yeah, like makes sense.
And also they even talk about because the series obviously has some like environmental things going on.
Yeah.
Especially in like the imagery of the Fire Nation being like this really horrible like industrial wasteland, and then you see like Omashu being overtaken by the Fire Nation. It's all horrible and smoggy, and it's like, oh, okay, so they're like polluting everything, with their presence. And then, they go to that Fire Nation village, and they're like, oh, the spirit must be mad about, it being horrible, but like everything's like really beautiful there, and it's all like, oh, okay, what's wrong here?
Oh yeah, and also there was actually an episode of the plot where a spirit was kidnapping people.
Yeah, in season 1. Yeah, like real early on, and that was like for the
because I could barely remember that. All I remember is that like something comes
that's where the forest gets burned down.
Yeah.
And, I forget the name of the spirit. Like the panda bear thing. Yeah, that episode's like really not very good.
It's a two-parter, isn't it?
It's a two-parter. I don't like either parts of it. It's kind of, it always just stuck out really weirdly to me. It is boring, and it's kind of like weirdly expositional, and it's like, oh, okay. And then Roku just turns up at the end, and you're like,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Like, hello, Aang, the Sozin's Comet is coming.
Why, yeah.
I like Roku a lot. Roku's like a really cool, he's like, I was thinking about this with, being able to access the past lives as the Avatar, and having like that as a system for exposition is like perfect.
Yeah.
Especially in that in the flashback episode, the Avatar and the Fire Lord in Book 3, where Roku talks about his past with Sozin, and you see how like the entire war started. And you're like, whoa, and it isn't like, I don't even know how else you would do this. Like, Aang, here is a flashback. It's like him guiding Aang through it, and beautiful.
Yeah, there are a lot of. I noticed a lot, like when we were watching the episodes, you kept on commenting on the way they weaved things in like that.
Yeah. It's like the storytelling. One of the things I really like about the series that's so like if you like want to like know how like things should be structured in a kind of story like this, it's almost perfect.
Yeah.
And even actually, I think the ending, like the series finale, being as flawed as it is, an understanding of why it's flawed is also really good for knowing basically what you shouldn't do at the end of a series. What
did they did they just like were they just kind of like holy shit, what do we do?
I actually that's something I've always wondered, because one of the things I really like about, honestly, it's a bunch of different factors. One of the things I really like about Book 2 is, you watch Book 1 of Avatar and you're like, okay, that was cool. The ending especially is really good. The ending is like the Fire Nation invading the Northern Water Tribe, and there's like the big blue spirit thing, and Iroh is like talking about Zhao. That was a good. That's a really good two-parter. Yeah, but you're like, okay, so you got all these like cool pieces. Like you've got these characters, you've got like kind of Zuko's past has been established. Iroh is like, you kind of learn that he previously tried to invade Ba Sing Se and failed, and his son died, and he went to the spirit world, and you got all these like, all of the elements of the world essentially are established, and you're like, cool, that's a cool like independent thing. And then you watch book 2 and you're like, wow, like they perfectly utilize the pieces and then enhance it, like, you know.
And you could tell, like, just like the way they would set things up in previous episodes, and then would come back later.
So far ahead of time. Like I actually, I was struggling to, like, think of how you would even...
Yeah.
You know, and like set up pieces and then have them play off, you know, seasons later. Like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the series finale, just in general, but there's, like, a bunch of different setups for that come from... You know, like, what is it? Like the war balloons that the Fire Nation uses. That's set up in like episode like
because
17.
Like some generals like, now we have the thing.
Yeah, that's just like a setup at the end of an episode.
Because I was thinking like that was gonna like they're gonna like bring that back like like halfway through the series or something. But no, it's like
literally like the last episodes. So I mean, and that isn't like randomly that isn't like, oh, we just have this element and now we're just like referencing it again. Like maybe like with June, the person with like the Shiashu tracking nose rat thing. The bounty hunter woman. Her turning up again is like maybe random, but
especially because this
is kind of like a thing. No, but like the point is like they typically get all of the pieces that they have in their series. And just, like, especially for book 2, it's just like, hey, we've got all these really cool characters and concepts, so let's all put them in, like, dystopian city and see how that plays out. Yeah. And then you, like, you know, you have all this, like, crazy shit with the Dai Li going on, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, you know, amazing. But it happens for the most part in book 3. Like things coming together and ideas coming together. Especially for individual episodes. You know, like the bloodbending episode is, like, a setup from... the full moon kind of guarding Waterbender's power and stuff.
And then there was in the episode just before that, they had Katara realizing more about like how she could like use water in the air and stuff. Yeah, water comes from, you know, the most unlikely places. You're like, yeah, and they even mentioned that in that episode. Just like, I use my own sweat for bending. So then that's the really weird thing, because the season finale, or the series finale, sorry, of book 3, and it's like, it's not like they put themselves into a corner to solve stuff. Like, you got to think like, if I know, let me pitch this to you. So say, you know, because you have the Ember Island Players episode, which is like the recap episode. You're like, you've got, you know, 57 episodes before this, including the Ember Island Players. You've got all these characters, you've got all these scenarios. The setup is Aang's got blocked chakra point, so he can't go into the Avatar state. He's got to kill the Fire Lord. Someone's got to kill Azula, probably. Yeah. Iroh's missing, but he broke out of jail and he's got to be somewhere. Yeah. Zuko's probably got to do something. You know, like, the characters have got to do something. Someone's going to invade the Fire Nation. Sozin's Comet is coming. Aang's got to fuck Katara.
Yeah, Aang's got to fuck Katara 100. And he's also got to kill Ozai, but he doesn't want to. Yeah. So you've got a bunch of different things going on. I don't think that's backing yourself into a corner.
No, but I would say I think they didn't know how to make Aang win.
Yes. Well, I mean, they handled it in the worst way possible. Yeah. Like, because
I mean, you know what the worst thing was? Yeah, the worst thing, having him be in the Avatar state for whole battle and it being mostly like impersonal OP, like there's no real. It's just like, okay, I'm watching him throw shit around, flying around in this fucking atom ball thing, and he's just like
as like impersonal weapon machine.
It's just like fuck off. Like, I was waiting this whole series to see him get emotional and have a final fight. You know, like fucking last laser sword fight in lightsaber fight in the last Star Wars movie.
Oh, with like Luke like wailing on Vader. Yeah, that's a really great scene. And that's even like a really good honestly, I actually think that the Last Airbender fight is actually based on that fight as well,
You
partially,
reckon?
slightly. I mean, like, okay, like you got to think. The whole series is basically reminiscent of Star Wars, purely from the monomyth. It is. I almost guarantee you. There's a lot of very functional factors that go into certain things being set up and failing.
okay.
It's not like, oh yeah, Luke is Aang and so on and so forth. Even though
I just
they're very
find that
similar.
kind of boring because it's like, well, yeah, they're both kind of derivative of like a general tradition,
Oh,
and
okay,
they
no,
would
no.
have
Not only that they're
influenced each other. Like, I mean, it would influence. But it's just like those kind of comparisons are so like obvious and a given that it doesn't really fucking like.
No, but I mean, like, I think there are specific elements outside of like genre conventions and outside of like structural like obviously like it follows, you know, a normal like seasonal arc, but I think there are like very specific things going on that are reminiscent, particularly of Star Wars. Anyway, the thing that's so strange to me is like Aang being in the like impersonal I'm a killing machine avatar state is actually one of his like conflicts in book 2. Like that's in the avatar state episode.
Yeah, what the fuck? There wasn't even a thing. He was just like, he just bumps into the thing. He doesn't even have to go like, oh no, I'm gonna be in avatar state.
Well, that's the crazy thing. It's like,
it's just like, it's basically you're not watching Aang fight anyone. You're just watching some like robot faggot.
See, okay, I would be fine with robot mechanized Aang fighting people if he then had a moral conflict about being a mechanized robot fighting, considering that's one of his like major conflicts before that point. But then the crazy thing is, it's like, not only is it that Deus Ex Machina, it's like double Deus Ex Machina, because and the worst part is they explore the moral conundrum he has, right? Like he I mean, the whole lion turtle thing is like dumb just as a whole concept. Like, it's so out of nowhere and so weird.
Yeah.
And you're like,
whoa, it's moving. Whoa,
it's an island.
What the fuck was the point of that anyway?
But not only is it like that one Deus Ex Machina, it's like, by the way, you're also given the exact power you need to circumvent killing this guy.
Yeah, because he bumped into the rock that fit.
No, not giving himself the avatar state. The lion turtle giving him the energy bending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was dumb. Man, that was also stupid. Like, what the fuck? Like, they're like shooting shit out of their mouths. I'm like, oh, whoa, they're gonna have some spiritual like baby revelation. No. It's just like, no. Now they're like, their colors are going in on each other.
Whoa, man. Think about it, dude.
Makes me want to like break myself.
I've actually wondered, like, what is the problem with the series finale? Like, what was going on in their heads? Because I mean, you've got I mean, you'd argue that you kind of put yourself into a corner a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
well, I think one of the things was like, oh, how do we make Aang beat him in a satisfying way without having to kill him?
Dude, I can think of like 100 ways to do that. Okay.
I think
that wouldn't involve a lion turtle.
Azula was like the good example of how they did that.
Yeah, she has her own downfall. Well, because the annoying thing is, okay, partially it's chalked up to the fact that Ozai isn't a character. He's like he's a force. He's an idea.
I kind of wish he had more of a. Well, no, okay. I didn't wish that he was like a character that you kept seeing throughout the series, but I wish that like once you get to see him, you'd be like, I know he's had a past because he has like a character with its own idiosyncrasies and like that sort of thing.
Because the really annoying thing is, it's like, because the whole point is you don't even see the Fire Lord's face until season 3. Like, that's kind of the point. You're like, but it always weirded me out that he wasn't a character. Really,
he's more of a plot device.
He is completely a plot device. But like, I would be okay with him being a plot device until the 3rd season.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Zuko is, you know, the reason. Yeah, that he's the character they're fighting.
And then like
Azula
season 3 is when we should be getting like. Yeah. That's when those kind of things should be opening themselves up.
Like his, you know, Ozai's development, and not even like a huge amount, but like, you know, how about like, I don't know, Zuko talking to him. Because what you know, that's crazy.
We don't even actually see Zuko talking to him much.
There are 2 scenes, I think, in book 3. The one where he's confronting him in the like the bunker.
And there's another one, and the other one where he's like he's talking to him, and his dad's like, "Oh, and you killed blah blah blah."
Yes, and also the war chamber scene. And that's actually in the series finale, and the only thing that's used for is to explain Ozai killing people. That's like, yeah, because that's the thing. Ozai is like, I am psycho murderer. I'm gonna kill everyone. But then that's like Azula's character as well. But she's like infinitely better than him because she has like a fun personality.
And also,
you know,
like she's like, it's better if like he's like Machiavellian, like and like that sort of thing. But then like, what the fuck? Like, why did his wife marry him?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can look at the comics for that. They exist. Man, you should see the explanation because you know, like there's the whole cliffhanger about Zuko's mom not being found. There are like a series of comics that explain that came out like relatively recently. I never knew what like in the past 2 years, I want to say.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Okay. 2 to 3 years.
Because that's like something that come out like a year. Within a year.
Like 6 months after. Yeah. That's always something that like weirded me out. Because like, I mean, there are a ton of like kind of not fully developed plot arcs that could have been like Toph never really gets like any kind of closure about her family. Yeah. Which is so weird because like you got to think like yet again they had 4 episodes to play with at the series finale. That's like 88 minutes of screen time minus ads.
You know, they even had like those guys that she used to fight come back, and they and they're like, and now we're fighting people. Yeah, that happened somehow.
But yeah, like they couldn't have just had an offhanded line like, "Oh, my parents love me." Okay, thanks, Toph. Your character's arc is done.
Yeah.
But
my parents died in the war. They got burned to death by Prince Ozai. Oh my god! Please. What, you know, they should have explored some real trauma of war.
That would have been great. Like Ozai like kills her parents. He could have had actual development there.
Yeah.
But you're like, okay, you got like a few minor things. Like that doesn't really matter like too much. But then the Zuko like never finding out who his mum is or like where she is. You're like, okay. And then it like doesn't get resolved for like 5 years until like a series of comics that are man, they're so baffling. I'm trying to remember this.
Really?
Yeah, it's like, what is it? It's like his mom, like, because she gets banished to like a village or something, and then she like meets a guy there that she used to like date because she came from some Fire Nation village.
Okay.
And then she somehow
not royalty.
No, she's not royalty.
Wait, but isn't her like great? Isn't like one of Prince Zuko's maternal grandfathers Avatar Roku?
Maybe it is. Oh, okay, I'm struggling to remember this, but like there's something where it's like this weird love triangle between like her, this guy in a village who she's like in an acting troupe with, and Ozai from memory, and then there's some really convoluted plot where she goes into the forest near where her village is, and she talks to the mother of Ko, the spirit Ko.
Huh?
The mother, Ko, the face-stealing.
Oh.
Yeah. The mother spirit of Ko, which is a giant spirit that like gifts you a new face, like a new like face and personality, and then she swaps like face and personality or something to blend in after being banished, and then eventually Zuko like finds her, but he like already met her, but he didn't realize it was her because she looked like a different person, and then she has like another daughter or a son or something who's like 6. It's like it's really bad.
Yeah.
And it's like it does the same thing that the series finale does, where because you got 4 episodes to resolve your whole show, and then the first 2 are spent explaining a lion turtle, and you're like, what?
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do they do that? Oh, yeah. What the fuck? It's like, I'm thinking, yeah.
You're
fuck.
like, I'm ready for the finale, and they're like, man, why didn't we do this? And then the first part is like, we're playing on the beach, and then it's like,
the lion turtle is such a boring reveal.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, the island's moving. I guess it's an animal or something. Yeah. I don't know.
And then and it's got a face, and then it goes.
And then it says, Aang's like, I need you for spiritual guidance. What? Excuse me? Excuse me, what did you say? Here's your magical powers.
Yeah.
Now win the game. That's the crazy thing, isn't it? Because like, it isn't like they totally circumvent the moral question of killing Ozai. It's like Aang's like, I'm going to sit down and meditate and talk to my previous Avatar incarnations, and they're all like, fucking kill him.
Yeah.
Especially Yang Chen, who's like Yang Chen's the airbending Avatar. She's like, actually that's something I really like. What is it? The Buddhist Bodhisattva thing of like the Buddhist people who stay on Earth and don't detach themselves so that they can help other people become enlightened. Which is like the idea of the Avatar, which is really cool because you're like, oh, that's like an interesting conflict.
And I liked that it's like, it's kind of like while the others can be enlightened, and you can't like hold entirely to your ideals. You have to make sacrifices. So it's basically like, stop being a moral fag and adopt consequentialism because everyone's relying on you. Yeah,
which actually plays into Aang's character because like one of the major things you see in the flashbacks in the Storm in season 1, where he first learns he's the Avatar, is like he becomes an outsider because he's like this kind of all-powerful being, and it has the opposite effect. You'd assume it would be like an inclusive like thing for him, but he kind of rejects wanting to be the Avatar, and then he's kind of like isolated by that power and by that status. So that makes even more sense because he can't follow his own kind of moral compass.
Yeah, exactly.
But then, like he hears that from Yang Chen, and he makes the decision. Oh damn! I'm actually going to have to kill the Fire Lord, which is like an interesting moral change.
Yeah.
But then the scene after that, it's like, oh no, I guess I don't have to anymore.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, lion that appeared in the ocean out of nowhere. Sea face. Lion Island, thanks for appearing, and that for some reason I had to walk over to you because you kept making sounds at night, and I went over to you, and then
you gave me the exact power that I needed to finish off my moral, because like my moral crime, because like otherwise Aang's like, imagine Aang is like a more tough normal person who's like, God, I have to kill the Fire Lord because he's basically like Hitler. And then he's like, whoa, I'm on a lion turtle. The fuck's up with this? And the lion turtle's like, in the beginning, there was energy bending. He's like, what the fuck? I'm just going to kill this guy. I don't need to take his bending. What are you talking about?
Why did you have to, why did you talk to me? Why did you make me come to this island
Why did you abduct me in my sleep?
Yeah, what the
fuck's wrong with you?
What the hell? Fucking stupid.
It's like unraveling before your eyes. The chiropractor rock is the worst though, because that's like...
The what?
The second Deus Ex Machina where the rock hits him in his back, because you're like, because like the worst thing about that is it's like, okay, like your chakra got blocked, and the chakras, in season 2, I think the Guru might be my favorite episode. That's the one where he's like unlocking.
That's a very fun episode.
Fun. I don't know. It's kind of like
it would have been. They didn't have enough time to really have a proper like, I'm dealing with my problems.
The issue is part of it is like, let go of your fear. And he's like, okay.
It would have been nice, because like, I mean, I liked the visual representations of that.
Yeah.
But it would have been nicer if they just had like time lapse, like transition.
Aang, quick, you solved all of your moral problems and you're now a perfect human being.
Yeah, wow, you just went through all the 7 steps of the interior castle by St. Teresa of Avila immediately. Nice. Cool.
Speed running the 7 chakras.
Yeah.
The thing I really like about that episode is the moment where he is like, nah, I'm gonna go save Katara.
Yeah.
Which is great, and there's the great shot where he's like standing on like the edge of the building, and Guru Patik is like, if you like do that, you're not gonna be able to go into Avatar state at all, and he chooses the wrong decision.
I liked that because that was such a cool the character isn't making the convenient choice. He's not like he can't have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, he's not like Avatar Man. He's not like I must save the dude.
He has this he's attached to this thing, and then he loses his ability because of it.
Yeah, and it's like actually like a genuine moral qualm, because it's like, do I retain literal attachment to a person, because the
Yeah.
whole idea of the seventh chakra is like abandoning attachment, and I mean, eventually he does that in the end.
Sort of.
Well,
Sorry, Katara.
bye.
What the fuck?
And then just, I mean, that doesn't really pay off.
Doesn't really
pay off because he gets shot in the back, but it's like, okay. But it's like, that's like a genuine like moral qualm. Whereas I feel like the pacifism thing with Ozai is like never a really relatable thing. And especially because here's the thing. Ozai is so ridiculously evil. Like, I mean, he's like, it's strange because
well, you know, if they really, you know, okay, yeah, you're right. But it would have been more interesting if they had established Aang's pacifism as more of a strong trait before that.
Yeah.
Like, as like, I have a strong religious moral commitment to never, ever, ever, ever killing. But instead, it's like,
it's
I don't know.
vaguely established.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they kill heaps of. I feel like they've killed hundreds of people
100
anyway.
Yeah, there's
like,
that.
What the fuck?
I don't know if you remember the like the siege of the Earth King's palace in book 2, where they're like break in. They're like throwing people downstairs. Like they probably murdered like about 500 people there.
Not to mention all the fucking battles they have.
Yeah, and they're like, I mean, they're just like hitting people in the face with enormous rocks and like throwing like fire at them,
tearing buildings down and like throwing people out into the ocean,
like crazy, like murderous anarchists, you know. And even in the series finale, Aang's like, I have never even killed a single person. Like, I really doubt that.
Yeah.
Dude. I'm sorry to break it to you, like a mass murderer.
Guys, we have to make these bombs. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm helping you plan your invasion. Don't worry, I'm a pacifist, guys.
I'm a pacifist. Now let's invade the Fire Nation by force.
Yeah, let's
also, I need
when
to
they're weak, so we can destroy them all.
Maximum killing. Yeah. Okay. Well,
and he also killed that guy.
Which one?
Well, no, he ate him as a spirit or something.
What?
In the end of the first season.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
That was his avatar part.
Yeah.
It's fish thing. The fish killed Zhao.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing that's really dumb about the Ozai conflict. Is that Aang is going to kill Ozai in the Day of Black Sun episodes, like the invasion of the Fire Nation. He's like, we have to go kill Ozai, and then he's like fine with that, and there's like no moral conundrum.
Yeah, it's like, I'm gonna be a badass and kill the guy.
I'm ready to fight the Fire Lord, and it's like, okay, that's fine. But then it's like at the series finale, he's like, oh, I can't kill him. It's like, what? Did something change? Like what? Anyway, my point was, the pacifism thing never really worked for me as like a relatable conflict, because with like I have to choose Katara or I have to choose enlightenment that will give me the Avatar state. Like the Avatar state.
That's a real conundrum for people.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, okay, I understand that. But the pacifism thing is like, I obviously I understand like where his argument is coming from.
Yeah.
But it's not made easy on me because
it's so drastic.
Ozai is such a hateable character. If it was a moral conundrum to kill, for example, like Zuko.
Yeah.
If Zuko was evil.
Yeah.
But he was a sympathetic character, and
because it's like, it'd be like, if I kill Zuko, it will make saving the world a lot easier. That's more of a thing.
But I have to kill someone that I've sympathized with in the past and has done, so on and so forth. Whereas Ozai is like so ridiculously pure evil, and I mean that's one of the arguments. Is it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's still a human life, even no matter how awful he is. Which is like, okay,
well, they didn't really demonstrate that either.
Yeah,
really.
because I mean it's like, why? Yeah, no, I'm just like, I love the idea of that being a moral conflict, but there's like no real.
You have to make it an actual real conflict within the structure of the show and stuff itself, because that's like you can say that, you can have the character say that, but if you really want the audience to feel it when you're making a work of fiction, you have to construct the story to demonstrate that.
Yeah.
Like you have to, like if I was writing a short story or something, like if I'm reading like a short story, it's trying to give me a moral like thing, like a book or anything, it has to demonstrate, like it has to like make me sympathize with the character's moral conundrum. Sorry, not so much like not sympathize so much, like, because obviously I could be like, well, I would make this choice, but to be
it's more like empathize really. Yeah, and it's like, it's such a shame because it's something that yet again, like within the confines of what they had to play with, like four whole episodes, you can do a lot there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you got to think like the entire Storm episode, which shows like the whole backstory of Zuko and Aang in parallel, which I love. That's one episode. You know, like the Avatar and the Fire Lord flashback to Roku.
Yep.
And Sozin. That's one episode. You got like 4 whole episodes. You've got all of these pieces, and then you spend half the time setting it up with like a lion turtle. Boring. Like, not only boring, it's like it like obfuscates the narrative.
It doesn't really go anywhere.
Like, something I noticed especially is like it begins with like they're just talking, which is like, okay, they're talking like about, oh, Zuko, I didn't actually know that the Fire Nation were going to destroy the Earth Kingdom. You conveniently failed to mention this to everyone.
Oh, no one told me that Avatar Aang was pussying out.
Yeah, he was going to wait till after Sozin's Comet. Because that's something that always really confused me. Because there's all this dialogue earlier on in the series where they're like, you know,
oh my God.
Maybe we can fight him after the... Well, like, what happens if we don't, you know, kill the Fire Lord before Sozin's Comet? And I think this is in the library episode, and Sokka's like, well, let's just like not think about that. Like, it would be the end of the world if, you know...
But this, I mean, actually, I can figure that, because that is that's like a flawed human thing to like delay after that sort of setback. I would say,
but it's never explored though.
Oh yeah, but it does make so much sense to me. Like, people would be like, we'll just like, we'll wait after this happens because we kind of.
Okay, but if that thing happening is the end of the world, I don't know, like that. Okay, no, here's the thing: they had a conception that Sozin's Comet would bring out some other horrible Fire Nation thing, right? They would do something at that day.
And actually, the whole thing about Sozin's Comet last time wasn't it that
he was fighting him before? What? They killed all the air nomads with Sozin's Comet, because that's what started the war. Is like, obviously the poetry, it rhymes like, whoa, the thing that began the war is then used to end the war. Well, that's crazy. And it's like, okay, but the whole like motivation is like, you have to learn the 4 elements before Sozin's Comet comes, and then it's like, now let's fight him after Sozin's Comet and not mention it to Zuko. So you like, they have that like dumb dialogue at the beginning of the episode. Then they're like playing on the beach. Then Zuko decides to attack Aang for like no reason, as like a kind of as a joke. Top 10 killing my best friend prank.
Fucking hell.
And then that's like, okay, it's just like, it just kind of keeps going, and you're like, like, you know, whenever you're watching an episode, you're constantly remapping trajectories in your brain. You're like, oh, so this is where it's going. Oh, so this is where it's going. And with those ones, you're like, they're on the beach. This is the series finale. And you're like, oh, maybe they're like getting in just like a last little bit of like, hey, we're having fun time before
that was a
the war starts.
Dumb fucking way to begin. Like, I mean,
not like you need to get straight into edginess.
I kind of like the fact that Zuko is like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, that's a cool thing. But like, apart from that, it's like.
But at the same time, it also takes too long just for that one.
And it's kind of like, oh, that's not really like.
It's like, what are you doing? Because you got to think like, the closer you get to the end of a series, you're like, the more you're on a timer, and the worst part is like, when you like that timer like runs out in your brain is the exact moment Deus Ex Machina happen. Yeah. Because you're like, you know, for example, like you're watching Aang and you're like, oh, how is he gonna fight the Fire Lord? And then, you know, he gets to fight the Fire Lord, and you're like, okay, this is the fight. And then he's fighting the Fire Lord, and you're like, how is he going to defeat him? And then he's losing. You're like, okay. And then he traps himself in a ball, you know, and then it's getting pounded upon by the Fire Lords. You're like, okay, so he's at the lowest point. Now he has to, you know, you're like narrowing his choices to make good character development to get out of the situation. And then he gets beaten to death, basically, and is getting blown out of this rock, and you're like, and it's like getting down to the last possible second of death, and then miraculous
bump into the rock in the right place, and you know, the thing about that is, it feels like the characters were like really shitty at like fulfilling their destinies. Like, they were so boring. So like, the god of the universe just decided to like, oh, fuck it, you know,
spice it up.
Yeah, no, not spice it up. Just literally like, oh my god, they're not like thinking of anything. I just have to like send a fucking like lion ocean
turtle
island thing.
He's got to call up the lion turtle.
Yeah, just be like, fuck.
Can you guys just
send
insert
this guy,
some?
Give him some like power to like.
We need 50 cc's of moral issues.
Solve the fucking thing at the end of the episode, like complete boring way.
I would have loved if Aang just like straight up was just like you know he's like kind of keeping his own with Ozai for a second, and then it just starts to get absolutely ripped on, hides in a ball while Ozai is taunting him, and then just gets literally just blown to pieces by him, and then everyone's like, holy fuck, Aang just fucking died.
And then like,
holy shit.
That would have been such a satisfying ending.
Yeah, because
I kind of wanted the Fire Lord to win, honestly.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, Fire Nation actually did like nothing wrong, honestly. But
just Bernal was, yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's so dissatisfying on like so many different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like with that first episode, you're like, okay, you're at the beach, and you're like at the halfway mark through the first episode, and you're like so in the mood for it being a series finale, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And then Aang like wakes up, or is like meditating over, you know, having a moral conflict. Even dumb stuff like, hey, look, it's a painting of Fire Lord Ozai as a baby. Like, oh my god, why is this here?
And then like Aang walking off. God, no, you know, when I started watching that, I was like, oh, please let this be something interesting.
Yes,
and let this not be like left lingering for like half an episode, because then they spend the rest of the episode going, ooh,
where's Aang? And it's like it's so much time is spent like, where is he? We searched the whole island.
Yeah.
We're gonna go find June. June couldn't find him. Now let's go find Iroh. And then they find Iroh, or they find the Order of the White Lotus, and they spent so much time talking to them. And then they talk to fucking Boomy, and he's like, "This is how I took down Omashu." It's like, does that really matter right now? Like,
that was kind of boring.
Yeah.
Especially, it's also like, you know what's confusing about that is I got that confused because I'm like, that distracted me from Ba Sing Se.
Yeah.
And also because
even retaking Ba Sing Se is really boring. Sadly.
Yeah. And the thing about that is it like kind of it's like, oh, he's like that crazy king guy, and then he like freed his city by doing like one like a kind of joke thing.
Yeah.
But then
it's like wacky and dumb.
Yeah, and then suddenly we're at a siege of like, oh, it's an actual serious.
Yeah, no,
fuck.
The tone is like, I think for the most part the series balances like lighthearted comedy in serious moments.
Yeah.
But that is like an entire flashback, and that's another thing I noticed. There's a ton of flashbacks used in this episode that kind of like pull you out of the current narrative. Like even small things like Zuko was talking to Aang, and he's like, "Here's how you read."
When I was in the fight, when I was,
my father. What did you think of that scene? Actually,
I thought that was pretty. I like that actually.
Oh, really? Zuko talking to Ozai, or
yeah. Except Ozai felt a bit like silly. It was kind of like, it was like he became less intimidating.
Ozai is always silly. Like,
it's like, because at the beginning, at the first, like when you didn't in book 1 and book 2, he was kind of intimidating, or like oh, but then he's like, ha 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 ha,
like oh no. Well, that's the strangest part to me is you know, you have like the Ember Island Players episode, which I love.
What?
The Ember Island Players, the play they watch.
Yeah.
And it's like they're like intentionally flanderizing like all the characters. Like Aang is like, you know, it's like the Peter Pan thing where he's played by a woman. Katara, you know, Sokka's like he's like the oh hope. I love it. They
top.
fucking that joke of the like Sonic screaming out of the mouth just like kills me every time I see that. But then, you know, like all the characters are like parodied really well with a lot of self-awareness. And you get to Ozai, and his depiction is like exactly how he is. So that's another thing. It's almost like a determined like, we have to make this bad, and it's like such a like the whole series is ostensibly like a what do you even call this, the Machiavellian, the good versus evil idea explored in series. Not Machiavellian, but do you know the term we're talking about? Manichaean. Yeah, Manichaean. The Manichaean.
Like what's the word?
Ding dong.
Yeah, because Zoroastrianism set that up. That whole
really.
Well, Satan figure wasn't like just, he was like almost an equal opponent to the good one, instead of just like
yeah. Well, arguably like more accurately to the series, that's probably like a yin yang thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like just like light dark, positive negative, but it's like so simplified by like the laser beam energy bending thing, like with just like glowing lights. The thing with that is, and it's so counterintuitive to the rest of the series, like, you know, like with bending is such a good thing on so many levels. Like it's such a good display of like personality of the characters for the styles they use and for the elements, and it like has, you know, by like, I mean, you're breaking down a fighting style into like the most like basic elements, like literally like the elements that construct reality. So you have essentially like unlimited combinations, and then you've got like amazing like martial arts choreography to go with that, and then
I was impressed with the amount of like, they didn't just like fucking like hand wave. They really they really cared about that.
Almost like literal. It's not literal hand waving or literal. This is something that I criticize a lot in Korra, where a lot of the bending is just, everything is just, I am punching elements out of my fists, including airbending, which is the worst.
Because airbending has such a, it's so, the choreography they use for that is so like fitting.
It's floaty, it's evasive, it's based on the martial art Bagua or Bagua Zhang, which is like all it, like the way they incorporate it honestly is like unbelievable. Like the amount of detail, like the whole that whole system is based around circles and
that's what
circles.
I was thinking when I was visualizing Aang like going
and like creating energy from rotating, which is something that wind does as well, like with cyclones.
I read a cool thing. The whole Azula, her like firebending being blue, because it's literally like
hotter, or
like physics.
Oh yeah, do they ever directly mention it in the series? I don't think they do. No. Like exactly why hers is blue.
Yeah, because at first I was like, oh, is she using like electricity all the time? But no, she has blue flame.
Yeah, I think the major reason was just to differentiate her fire from other people's. But it looks cool as fuck, and it's like, I feel like if it was handled, like if her character was any less like fun as a character, it would just be like, oh, this is like a dumb like OC.
But it was cool, but also because it was obviously like when like the conflict between her and Zuko, because she's like I'm so fucking good at everything.
Yeah, like, her character. I don't know if she's like my favorite female character in the series. She's just so much fun. Like she's everything.
And watching her break down was really fun too.
The only thing I wish is that was expanded upon more.
That happened too quick, almost.
Well, it happens entirely within the series finale.
I mean, that like
it's set up.
It still worked okay in that, but I mean, it was set up. But they could have had like at least some more like just subtle like indications of like. But I wouldn't want them to like make it too much of a thing.
Too much, yeah. Well, I feel like it could have been something that was set up really early on in book 2, which kind of always gives me the vibe that the series finale almost was like. It almost feels like it was made by different people who were like just given Avatar.
Yeah.
Or like
it does feel like help. We need to make a finale.
It's so strange because it feels like it's struggling, but that's like the thing that Avatar like did the inverse of, where it takes all the great concepts and then it does them justice. It goes above and beyond, you know, with like book 2, where you're like, oh, Zuko's character conflict seems kind of interesting, like he's got a thing going on, and then you're like, whoa, they really explored that really well, or they really explored Iroh's character really well.
I was thinking, I almost wish they didn't have the whole, so, where is my mother now? Because it was much better as just like a tragic, oh, she sacrificed herself. Yeah. And it's kind of mysterious, it's kind of like, oh, how did that happen?
And he has like no reconciliation because she just disappeared one night. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I like about that is that Ozai uses that as like a bartering chip against Zuko, but that's so minor, you know.
Yeah.
And it
doesn't have a payoff really.
The only payoff is that he's just like bad. It's so strange because the rest of the characters in the show, like especially Zuko, is like so morally ambiguous.
Yeah, especially because like even when they set that up at the beginning, I liked that because that would have been like, oh, his father is being forced to make like an impossible decision. Even though like his father's obviously like
in the wrong.
Yeah, like being kind of like but still like it's like like we weren't shown too much of him, and he's playing with such high stakes that it seems like reasonable.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
I can imagine because
almost
people,
like he had to like follow like the
like monarchs did that kind of thing and emperors and stuff.
Because here's the thing that's it's so disappointing because like you look back at the Roku Sozin flashback and Sozin in the beginning is like a genuinely nice person, and as the years go on you see him being corrupted, and I always got the vibe that Sozin or just like all of the Fire Lords were basically just corrupted by being monarchs surrounded by war, and the fact that like this is something like Jong talks about the Firebending Master in I think it's like the Deserter, the episode in season 1 where he's like teaching Aang firebending, and he's going on and on about firebending only being like destructive and so on and so on purposes. That makes sense for the Fire Lord that runs the industrial war city that and then eventually takes on the whole world with that. It's like I really like the idea of those people being corrupted, and it seems like that was kind of what they were going for with Sozin. Like he just kind of becomes this like grizzled old like hateful person, spiteful person. And
he also has this kind of like weird like the self-justification thing. I'm spreading my peace to the rest of the world.
I'm spreading the love of the Fire Nation. We're so prosperous, and it's like, and he's got the thing going on with
And that's like real like that's how people.
It feels like that's one of my favorite scenes when you like really like because for the whole
it's
series
sinister because it's so like
it's so ideologically like genuine. You're like, oh god, I can like that's so people do that. But for me, it's more like the whole series. You're like, oh, the Fire Nation are bad, but they've got some good characters. But I guess Sozin was evil, and he used a big comet to murder a bunch of people. But then you see him like at his wedding, and he's like ideologically like like pitching the idea to Roku.
Yeah, but then eventually it's like,
and I have ultimate power.
Like, oh no. So that's the thing with Ozai is like Ozai, like he murders his own father, right? Like to get the throne. That's his character. And so with Ozai, you're like, okay, you like murdered your father indirectly, like through your wife, immediately after your brother had just lost his son in the war, and then like that's pretty hardcore, right? Like that, like whoa, okay, that's pretty evil, especially considering like how well, I mean, I guess Iroh kind of becomes Iroh after his son dies and he goes to the spirit world, so that makes more sense as to why his character changes from there. But like Ozai is so maniacally evil, it's like maybe it would have been interesting to have him have like to be a person at all. And especially because like the kind of moral of the story of the Avatar and the Fire Lord episode is, I think the literal words are like, like Roku was as much like Fire Nation as Sozin was. Like it didn't really matter. It was just like it just happened to be that he was from the Fire Nation. It's like why is he like such a shit character? Especially like Azula is like his duplicate, right? But better in almost every way.
And Azula is like, she's like has like mental problems.
Yeah,
she's like psychopath, which is like
And like, and here's another thing. Like, I mean, she isn't like a very well developed character because she doesn't really need to be because she's just.
Actually, I liked the whole thing with all the girls on the beach episode.
The beach episode is great, especially because like Azula's like they're going around and everyone's like, oh, my life is horrible and so on and so forth. And then Azula's like, oh, I'm perfect, except my mother, she thought I was a monster. She was right, of course. But then that actually kind of comes back and she's like has kind of psychotic breakdown seeing her mom, and it's like, whoa, okay, so that was actually an issue. Still I wish that was explored more. I don't know if her character needs to be explored more. It's like Toph. Like, does Toph really need like a huge amount of?
Because Toph is just kind of Toph, really.
Toph is just kind of like she serves I like both of their characters a lot, but they don't need like the depth. I don't think of Azula.
Did Aang have enough depth?
He could have gone with more. His depth should have been fulfilled by the series finale.
They should have,
or like throughout the whole season. Like, okay, here's the thing: why not just cut down the series finale to like 2 episodes, just a really good 2-parter, and spend the 2 episodes prior to that building something else up? Because I feel like the first 2 episodes sit around doing nothing.
Yep.
And then the last two are just basically one big fight scene with a resolution in the last 10 minutes. So you're like in the last 10 minutes, like tie up loose ends.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay. You know, they couldn't have set up like 2 whole episodes to explain like moral conundrums or, you know, like they weren't really on like a set like time limit either, because they were in like kind of an ambiguous time before Sozin's comet, between the eclipse and when Sozin's comet happened. They had ambiguous weeks.
We have and then it's like, oh, we have like 3, 4, 2 days.
Yeah. So it's like it's like they like put all these like weird. It's almost like they thought they had all these restrictions on them that they didn't. It's such a strange thing. Like,
I like how they just stop. Like, they're just like, oh no, where's Aang? Oh well, whatever.
Yeah, they're like, oh well, can't handle that anymore.
Yeah,
I guess.
he's just fucking disappeared.
Yeah, and especially like this is exactly what he did when like the last time Sozin's comet was coming around. It's like,
yeah,
oops.
I wonder how. Yeah, no one's like, Aang, you stupid. That's actually what I thought it was going to happen when he started when he went into the Avatar state and all that shit was flying at him. I thought, oh, is he going to go in a bubble again and like disappear?
Yeah, he just flies off into the ocean. Dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like no one is more worried. Like, you know, last time before Aang had to do something Avatar-wise, he ran off and went into an ice ball for 100 years, and then a bunch of people got murdered. Yeah. The other thing, it's like, why do they designate something I noticed throughout the series? One of the only examples of there being kind of poor power balance in the characters is like Toph is like so overpowered that she's basically just removed from all fight scenes.
She doesn't. Yeah, she's just like. Yeah.
It's kind of sad because like her like whole bending style is like amazingly like interesting to watch.
She just kind of has to like. She just like keeps like. Making sure shit doesn't fall on other people.
Yeah.
Like blocking it.
Well, like something I noticed, they're like very, very good at making her avoid fight scenes. Like to the point where it's like the visual storytelling involved is like really, really great and really fascinating. But it's used for like a purpose of like having a character avoid fights when they really shouldn't be. Like in the bloodbending episode, there's this whole like little like sub idea that she has that the meteorite bracelet that has like she can like mold its form. Do you remember? It's like a liquid metal thing that she bends and she like turns it into a wristband and then she turns it into a key. She like unlocks things with it. It comes out of the meteor that Sokka's space sword gets built into. But in the bloodbending episode, she uses like that metal key. She like molds it into shape to like pick lock doors, and then they unlock the little like crate in the secret room in the old lady's house, and find the waterbending comb, which is like that unlocks like, oh hey, you're from the Southern Water Tribe, and this so that has its own purpose. And then like later on in the episode, she's just the one that's like unlocking all like the handcuffs of the people in under the mountain. That are all like trapped there by the old woman. Like she like puts them there. So she gets to do that while all the other characters are fighting people. But it's like such a good like setup for her character to avoid the fight entirely.
It's like,
oh, sorry, I have to go off and have this one very specific purpose that no one else can do. I was like, okay, very nice. Or in the series finale where she's like, I'm gonna go and stand on a blimp now. And with Sokka and Suki, which is like basically fucking useless.
And then
it's like couldn't she like team up with Aang to like kill the Fire Lord? Like
that'd be gay, dude.
That would be gay, but I mean like
logically, like
I guess he's like flying around. I don't know, like
I don't know. I don't really see her.
Not as if like that should have happened, but like her. Well, I mean her like the abilities of her like are ridiculous. Like in the first time you see her, she's like she basically has like wall hacks on everyone infinitely, instantly,
and then she can also like bend metal.
Yeah, which is kind of I like the way that's actually utilized. It's almost like you would expect the ability to be like not utilized enough. It's just kind of like, oh, you invented metal bending and now
but
it's actually like done pretty well, honestly. It's handled terribly in Korra. God, man, fucking What a show.
Yeah, when are you going to mention some stuff about Korra?
Oh, being dark and mature. Yeah, the dark, mature themes of Avatar.
Race, gender,
Sexuality.
identity.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, I was just using Korra as like a reference point for quote unquote mature, quote unquote dark, when it really isn't. Or it has labels of that when, like, you have things that are like, I feel like the terms dark and mature are like inherently like tainted terms. I don't think the book 3 is like particularly like that. It definitely,
Feels
it has
maybe bleaker or something.
Yeah, it's bleaker, but it's not like
it feels like in tone sort of, but I don't know if I'd say darker.
It's more like mild overtones of despair, which kind
Yeah.
of goes with like everyone we know is in prison or we're all fucked. Basically, is the overlying kind of idea of the season. But it's one of those things where it manages to handle. It's like one of the most tasteful like genocide handlings I think I've ever seen.
I liked I really liked the whole sort of I don't know, the whole series has a kind of very nice depiction of war and humanistic sort of thing going on.
I wish it did it more, but it does it. When it does it really well.
Like the
in
whole,
the
like with the I don't know. I like the way it affects Iroh and that nice song he sings and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that scene, the Leaves on the Vine, is like, that's kind of like, that's pretty famous. That scene.
Oh yeah,
it's like everyone cries in that scene.
That's like kind of the peak of the series for me almost.
Yeah, I'd say emotional peak, definitely.
But also just like it's so nice.
Yeah, it's such a, especially with like the in honor of Mako thing as well. It's like it's so perfect. It's a shame that that's kind of, that whole episode is ruined for me, because it's like it's like super depressing. It's like ding 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 ding, the tail of Bang. Whoa, I gotta find some cabbages for some rabbits. Like, oh my god, and it's a bunch of like fucking animal like
and then
slapstick.
He like builds a zoo.
It's like Uncle laments the death of his son, sings like beautiful acoustic serenade in honor of the voice actor that died of cancer. Whoa, gotta go build a zoo. Whoa, got all the animals. Like, oh no. Yeah, ruined. I fucking love that scene a lot. I'd say the height, I don't know if like the height, probably like the Lake Lao guy episode with like Iroh like finally like yelling at Zuko. With he's like,
yeah, that was a good one too.
It's like such a, like, Iroh is like such a like patient and like compassionate person, and then finally he's so snarky, not snarky, but
more like
he's
very
biting. Yeah, it's a shame. I think supposedly, I mean, like they were never really going to do 4 seasons, but Aranette has supposedly like had an idea to have like a big kind of flashback to Iroh's past, and if there were like to be a 4th season, I don't know. I'm happy with what we got with that. Like, honestly, it's like the perfect amount. You never even see Lutan, his son, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you understand his character like completely.
Like having too many like flashbacks would kind of ruin it.
Yeah, it would be. The Zuko alone as an episode is just enough.
Like, I feel like one thing that happened for me with that was like I really liked with the face stealer.
Yeah.
Like, just when, like, it's, like, that ominous, like, how it shows a face and Aang's like, what the fuck, I recognize this, like, that sort of deep, and then, like, but then, in the last, like,
episode
finale, it's like, and I was the Avatar, and I'm like, okay. That kind of, like, I like the whole idea that there's so many lives that, like, the Avatars lived in all kinds of, like, I don't know, but then it's like, and I'm the Avatar that had this thing that you saw.
Yeah, I was a more laid-back Avatar. No one cares, Karuk. Fuck off, water paddling man. Yeah, well, that I'm not too bothered by those. It's mainly for Karuk, because like you see all the other avatars except Yang Chen, but Yang Chen is kind of like foreshadowed a bunch in imagery. Like I don't know if you remember in the Guru episode when they're at the I don't remember which air temple it is, like Southern, Eastern Air Temple, I think.
Yeah.
They're like, there's one chakra part where they're like meditating in front of like a giant Yang Chen statue, and there's another scene actually in is it the Western Air Temple? I don't remember the one it is. It's the one where all the gang go there after losing Day of Black Sun, and like as Zuko's like parasailing down on a rope, there's just like an extended shot of Yang Chen like carved into the wall. But like she gets like I really like her character actually, and like the brief amount of time you see her, because she's like ironically she's like the most stern and pro she's like Ozai death.
Yeah,
and you're like
because you could because you could see that's like someone who really knows the ins and outs of that and has tackled like it, like being
the Avatar, and also she's the only other real air nomad character we see besides Gyatso. But Gyatso is more of yet again he's more of just a caricature
kind of
be the father. Yeah, like,
and that's because Aang would only have known him as a child, so
yeah,
makes sense.
I mean, but you basically see him for what, like half an episode, quarter of an episode. But yeah, Yang Chen, you're like, whoa, here's like a perspective of a real like airbending person. That's kind of cool. And she actually has like a different perspective to Aang. It's not like what.
It's not like I'm an air person.
Aang, your pacifism is right. Don't kill him. No. Yeah, but that's always the thing that surprises me. It's not like he makes the decision not to kill Ozai and then goes in search of how to not kill him. He doesn't want to kill him. And then he decides he wants to kill him.
Like, he has to. Like,
he has to, yeah. And then it's like, oh, now I don't have to.
Yep.
What?
And he's like, and you've done everything bad. Oh, wait, no, right. I just remembered I have this thing.
It's a good thing. That helped me win the fight. Hey, wouldn't that have sucked if he went on a giant mystical lion turtle for like a week? And got energy bending and then fought Ozai that he just fucking like burned him to death. Just instantly. Oh, sorry. Okay, I guess you didn't unlock your chakra point. Like, he didn't have to, you couldn't have spent like 2 episodes going through some like, he couldn't have like meditated and come to some conclusion on this that unlocked the chakra point.
No, or like gone to like some spirit world and had like an interesting thing instead of like having like some fucking island.
It's always
lion touch him and make him go shiny.
Yeah. Lots of glowing. Glowing is for me, glowing is like the prime warning sign of bullshit. It's always fucking glowing and laser beams.
Laser beams coming down from the sky.
Yep. Blue
beams.
Avatar was doing it before it was cool. In like 2005, blue beams being shot up into the sky wasn't a thing. It's only Transformers and so on and so forth.
You know what's strange? Sorry, I don't know. For some reason I was just thinking of this.
Yeah.
The first like 2 episodes or whatever of book 1 feel like, I don't know, when I watched them, like this is the first time I watched Avatar like ever, sort of. Like,
well, literally, yeah,
and I was like watching them like, it was almost like, it was kind of nice. I felt like I was watching like 2000s like gateway to era like thing, because it almost felt like like consciously American cartoon from this era.
Yeah.
And it was like post like Iraq war, like
you do get that vibe a bit, don't you? Yeah. It
was like, I don't know, it was interesting.
I mean, the art style doesn't change like too much, but I mean the 3rd season is notably better animated and like maybe not better shot, but it's like it has like heavier contrast, I feel, and it has like a lot of like darker, I mean it's like very red because of being in the Fire Nation. And you go back to book 1 and it's like so light and kind of plain and everything. It's like it feels very distinctly like 2005 kind of like it has an innocence about it, especially because
I like that in the first 2 episodes actually.
It works really well. Yeah, there's like that great scene where it's very carefree. It does the whole
like
show.
Like when they're sliding down that thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and like, we're still.
I really like that. It was I don't know, something touching about it.
Avatar does these like little brief moments of just like fun. Just does it like really well, and stuff that isn't strictly like everything must contribute to the grand goal of the plot. But that's a weird thing because structurally it's like structured like that very, very well, but then it allows itself to take really nice breaks.
Yeah, it knows how, like, what degrees everything should go in, and
how much leniency it can give itself,
and like being like functional, but like I'm following these as guides, not rules. As if like I'm like
this character must do this.
Yeah, I'm like this. I just want it to be like nice.
It's just fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the beach episode, like there's even just like a little part where Aang is like going down a water slide. It's just like inside some rocks. It's just like, oh, that's fun. Okay, that's cool. That has like an eventual like plot payoff because you get spotted by Fire Nation people.
Yeah,
so on and so forth. But it's like you didn't have to have that. But it's like, oh, that's cool. You chucked it in. That's very nice. Well, I think one of the things you mentioned just like offhandedly while we were mentioning the series is like, why does Combustion Man like exist as a thing?
Because he starts off like, this is like plot arc, like he wants to kill the Avatar and he's hiring this shady guy. It looks like he can belong in like a fucking Cowboy Bebop episode.
Even like
where they meet.
Yeah, they meet in like this like weird like dystopian like little industrial city.
I was like, okay. And like I'm like, and he like has this like kind of disturbing aesthetic like about him.
Yeah.
It's very like and
like the like mechanized arm and like the hawk, animal companion.
And like his whole like very but and then he has a boring wrap up.
His wrap up is purely because they needed Zuko to become part of the group.
It's like, oh no, but you know what the worst thing is it's like it's kind of like it's like, oh, who was this guy? What's his motivation? Like not like I want this to know his motivation so much, but it's like what kind of rules does he play by? Like these strange, like what's his thing?
Especially when he's like refusing Zuko's order to like stop. It's like, does he have his own motivation to kill the Avatar?
But then, no.
I don't see. Here's the thing. I'm not too bothered by that.
Like, I don't really care. Like I was just kind of like fucking wrap it up already. But at the same time, it's like it's kind of like, oh, that could have been a promising plot line, but then it just kind of is just annoying.
I feel like if they tried to see, here's the thing. I like his character being weird and mysterious, especially with him having like the third eye chakra point that he shoots exploding like fire things out of. That's like, because when you first see him, I will give it credit in the beach episode. The first time the gang come across him, they're sitting in that like giant like kind of almost like crater, and he's just at the top of like they're all sleeping, and he's at like the top of the crater. It's like that fight scene is it's a perfect example of how you do breathing moments in a fight. Like there's these beautiful like explosion, like rapid, really big, and then like quiet, back and forth.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like interrupt you too much, but that was like one of the things. Like with that, I was like thinking, wow, this guy is so powerful. How the fuck are they ever gonna beat him? Like, but then it's just like,
he blew himself up. I mean, to be that is set up.
I mean,
at the same time,
but at the same time, they're just like sitting around in this temple.
Yeah. And
it's just like it's like rocking, but like you'd think it'd like be fucking like wholly destroyed by then, but you just keep shooting it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's like, well, the thing is, there's that weird part where like in the Runaway, the Toph scamming everyone episode, that's like he kind of like randomly appears there almost like they're just kind of doing the scamming kind of other. It's almost like a filler episode. And then suddenly he kind of turns up at the end, and you're like, "Oh, whoa!" He like orchestrated them getting kidnapped, and yeah. But then they just kind of like hit him in the head with something, and then they just run off, and it's like, "Oh, okay." And that's where they set up like him getting hit in the head.
Yeah.
But then he disappears for what, like 6 episodes, 7 episodes, and then it's like, "Oh, hello, I'm dead now," and Zuko can now join the group because of me. Like, okay, does he even speak? Does he speak at all? I don't think he does. No. Okay. But he must have spoken to someone, because he was speaking to the Fire Nation people to arrange, like, there being a trap. Like, okay. I'm not too bothered. Yet again, he's just a functional blocking character.
Yeah.
True. The only issue with that is that Azula is also a blocking character, and fucking Ozai is also like a blocking character, and none of them. Combustion Man has about as much development as Ozai does, and about as much personality. So with like all the different seasons. Obviously, it's about, it's broken up into water, earth, fire.
Yeah.
Which is not only learning each of those elements, but it's also actually, like, being in those areas, being surrounded by the cultures of those.
Earth Kingdom boring, except when they get to the city.
Except when they get to China.
Yeah, because that's like, oh, awesome. But then
Okay, don't fully bag the Earth Kingdom. Earth Kingdom has some like, I mean, not an episode like Avatar Day, which is just like dumb. That's the one where they like go to the village where they all hate. Yeah, almost. There's like, there are parts of that episode that I love. I forgot, someone mentioned this to me. I think it was a comment in one of the videos where, and I totally forgot about this because a lot of book 2, actually a lot of the show is like, A plot with the gang is like the episode, and then the B plot is Zuko.
Yeah.
And that episode is like, that's kind of when Zuko finally leaves Iroh.
Yeah.
But he's just like, all he's doing is just going around like looting random people for money, and he's just like stealing things as the Blue Spirit and has like no purpose in life. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool for your character. But yeah, like Zuko alone, like the western setting of the Outback.
That was a very good episode.
That episode's like amazing. I love that.
That was another thing I liked. I don't know, the like war affecting people.
Yeah, I actually was going to say earlier that in the
because like that's it reminds me a lot of like anime depictions of war, like that Japanese very sort of wife left at home. I mean, that's so universal. It's such a universal human thing. But I'm just sorry, like when I see that in animation form, it makes me think like Gundam, Grave of the Fireflies, Barefoot Gen. That sort of like.
Yeah, I was almost like that episode almost gives me like Cowboy Bebop vibes. Like not too much, but like just like that like nice western setting and the kind of like isolated characters who have their own kind of story, and
even the kids seemed a bit of a like
it's like because for one they took influence from Cowboy Bebop in some regards, but like I wouldn't say it's not like, oh, here is this character or this moment.
I never really got that sensation of things.
I got more like they have seen the show in the same way that they would have seen like other like fundamental anime. You know what I mean? Like I was always like, yeah.
In that final scene where Aang and Katara kiss, did they totally steal that Evangelion shot? Where
which one?
Because so Aang and Katara are standing looking at Ba Sing Se, the city, right? Looking out over it.
Yeah.
Like at sunset.
Stealing that from the shot of the city lights going out.
No, maybe it reminds me so much of that shot of when they're watching the Tokyo whatever.
Tokyo 3.
When Shinji and
it's Rei, isn't it?
No.
No.
Shinji and the woman. What's his name? Masato. Yeah.
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 Really?
No.
That one.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I'd have to. No, I'll show you like side by side at some point because.
I know the show you're talking about. They're kind of silhouetted, and Tokyo 3 is kind of orange in the background.
Yeah.
That's in what is it? Episode 2 or 3. That's the first time Shinji sees Tokyo 3. Going subterranean. I don't know. I think that's a pretty like.
I would have. I was
shot.
thinking that, but then like. The shot lingered, and it kept like becoming more and more like it. I'm like, like I wouldn't. That's not like. I mean, I don't know.
That's never struck me when I've seen that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I've just never made that association. That would seem a bit weird to like, because like that the scene in Evangelion.
I can see that happening though, because it's like, oh, we're looking at a city thing, but yeah.
But it doesn't have the same like emotional connotation in like the slightest. It's so different. Actually, I just realized after seeing that shot again, it totally like has ruined it for me because like they do this like weird 180 reverse, so it's kind of jarring because it's like them kissing and then it's like 180 reverse and then the camera like does this weird dip in thing and it's like oh no.
That just reminded me. I was just thinking, man, how the fuck does Steven Universe count as like a cartoon compared to this?
Yeah, that's like it's fucking crazy that this got aired on Nickelodeon. Like.
What I'm thinking is like, holy shit, this is so good, and it got such high ratings. Why aren't they making more good cartoons like this?
Like Legend of Korra with real lesbian themes.
Does this have like the highest ratings of fucking like anything, especially the finale? You'd think, look, people like kids want smart, interesting shows
made by with like interesting novel ideas that are well written, episodic, serial.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, oh. Yeah.
They can follow a 60 episode plot.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, because the finale got like over like 5 million views, which is like crazy for what it is.
Yeah.
And, okay. So here's the thing, and I think yeah, yet again, you haven't seen Korra, but one of the main things about Korra that people go to for the worser part of the series, or parts of the series. I think most of it's trash, but the common kind of consensus is that like the second season is really bad. Pretty much everyone thinks that. There's like a lot of debate about the first season kind of being a bit iffy, and then people really tend to like the third and fourth season, just generally. But the common excuse is like Nickelodeon fucked the creators around a lot, and like they got like fucking hell. We were talking about this earlier. Like it's so weird seeing countries, like act like petulant children. Like we're talking about like North Korea acting like a petulant child.
Yeah.
And it's so weird seeing a company act like a fucking retard. Like, okay, so like they air season 1. It gets like on average 4 million views an episode, which is like, whoa, that's a lot. That's like more than Avatar averaged, And this is in like, TV viewing declined like a lot between, when Avatar aired in like 2012 when Korra aired. So you're like, okay, so you would think that they would fund this more, and then they do, and then eventually they make 3 more seasons of the show. But like they fucking pulled season 2 off the air. Sorry, at first they put it in like what's called like I think it's a Saturday night death slot is what it's called. Yeah. So it's like 8 p.m. Saturday nights. They like never advertise it or put up trailers. So no one knows when it's on.
Yeah.
They put up like they have tons of hiatuses in between it so that it gets aired over like a really long time, totally broken up, and no one knows when it's happening. And then they aired the season finale 2-parter on their website. They pulled it off the air and aired it on their fucking website and didn't tell anyone. So it's like, and it was still like, I think it started dropping views because they fucked it around. And they're like, my god, it's hemorrhaging views. We better take it off the air. Okay. And like replace it with reruns of SpongeBob. Like literally reruns of SpongeBob.
Man, that's...
And then they didn't air fucking... Oh wait, am I thinking of this correctly? I have a feeling that they didn't air Book 3 on television.
Of Korra.
And like, okay, just as an estimate, like, as far as I'm aware, based on like the animation quality of Korra, which is a lot better than Avatar in a lot of regards, also because it's like shorter seasons, like 13 to 14 episode seasons. From memory, the creators were saying that each episode of Avatar cost $1 million to make.
Okay.
Which is like actually kind of cheap, I think. It would have been like, good Korean animation. And the animation is like pretty decent for the show. And then it's like, how much money are you wasting? Like, it's so strange because, like, because the creators are always like, Avatar was never like standard Nickelodeon fare because it's like this like really long, like not super complex, but way more complex than whatever they were putting up. It got a ton of views, has like a cult following. Like, actually, not even a cult following. I mean, it has a cult following, but it's a cult following. Popular. It's like actually popular and like it's popular, and it's also in kind of like pop culture. And then it's like, let's do a sequel series, and then that does well, and then like let's just like not handle it in like literally almost the worst way possible. So I think that gives you an insight into like how the executives at Nickelodeon, like how their brains work.
Because they don't really have things in order. They don't really understand what they're doing.
I don't know how. I don't like. It's not even like, I mean, I'm actually really surprised that they like Avatar even got made. It's fucking crazy it got made. But they've explained this in interviews. It's kind of like they were basically commissioned to make another Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like a big epic fantasy mythology series, and then they made that, and it's like, wow, okay. And then it happened to be really good, and it did really well, and then it's like, let's not make like you would think that they make clones of it almost. Like
I was thinking like I was reading and I'm like, where are the Avatar clones?
Well, the only Avatar clone I know of is Wakfu. I was gonna say Voltron Legacy Defender, but that's only because like I think I've mentioned this. People who are listening might not know this because this show is like so underground. I actually haven't even seen it. It's it's
Wait, are we still talking about Voltron? Or?
Voltron, yeah. Is that, I mean, Wakfu's underground as well. Wakfu is more directly, like, very, like, now that you've seen the series, if you rewatch Wakfu, you'd probably be
Yeah.
oh, okay, that's where they got everything from. But Voltron is, like, it's an Voltron's, like, an 80s anime? No, not anime. Cartoon series?
Anime, yeah.
Kind of anime?
I think it actually was an anime.
Was it anime?
Maybe.
I guess it was. I mean, it depends what I don't know if you consider Avatar anime,
I think
but...
Wasn't it Japanese? Whatever, who cares?
Voltron sounds pretty Japanese.
Yeah.
Anyway, had a recent adaptation, and it was basically made by everyone that worked on Avatar and Korra, minus the actual creators.
That's right.
Minus Aaron Ehaz.
And is it, like, fucking good?
I've heard people like it. I don't know, like, IMDb ratings are hard to go off, but just, like, internet discussion, people like it a lot.
Okay.
I think but here's the thing, it's like such a small following, but like, what's his name, Joaquim de Santos, who he was like I think he was like a storyboarder on Avatar. He had a pretty key role. He kind of is like at the helm, or he's a major role, and you even have like some voice actors from Korra, like what's his name, Stephen Chun, the guy from Walking Dead who shows up as one for 2 episodes. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
You know this guy, haha.
I watch fucking normie shit.
You know Walking Dead is like really bad.
I saw parts of the first episode of that with no audio because you know those 2 guys from high school that I'll not name in this video.
Oh yeah?
But I'll tell you it afterwards.
Okay,
they were on
yeah.
the train with me on the way home, and
Okay.
they were watching The Walking Dead on their MacBook.
And you were just watching their screen.
They only had they had like ear things, and they were both watching it like one.
Wow.
And I was standing there watching them watch it, and it looked pretty boring.
Okay, this is actually really surprising. The first episode of The Walking Dead is really good.
Actually, no. Yeah, that's right. I remember hearing that. But
Everything else,
that's right. Actually, that makes sense. No, now I remember. Yeah, it's one of those shows where everyone's like, oh, whoa. Like, I'm on Reddit. Oh, wow, did you guys see that? This is like, whoa, TV's good these days, man.
Yeah, we're in the golden age of TV. Sopranos, The
Yeah.
Wire, The Walking Dead.
But then you get hooked into it, and it's just shit.
Well, like the first episode, like, is kind of like, it's not like mind blowing by any regards, but it's like really solid. And then the rest of the first season is like decent, but it never like blew me away. And then I watched like half of the second season, and it's honestly like awful.
Man,
it's
the
so
visuals
bad.
just bore me. I like see screen caps and like trailers. It's like some like piss filter.
Well, that's like everything nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in my day, they didn't put digital fucking piss filters. What do they call that? Like pre-effect, like color correction. I can never remember the name of it. Like it's basically you just press a button and it gives you like the look of X with, you know, preset
Nice.
color corrections and color combos, and it's like it's basically just urine / green / desaturated is what Walking
Who came
Dead
up with
looks
that
like.
look? Why did they do it?
I want to say The Matrix, but not really. The Matrix, like having a green kind of tint aesthetic, is like obviously a thing because you differentiate between the real world and the Matrix. I don't know. It's just like gritty action
It just
movies.
looks bad though. It just makes me
It
wanna,
really
like,
looks. It makes me want to go into a fucking DaVinci Pro and just like fix everything.
It like doesn't make me want to watch it.
It's literally like wrong. It's like bad.
Yeah.
like it, because here's the thing. Like it's obviously like quote unquote stylistic, but it's like it's stylistic in the same way that like your audio being too loud could be stylistic.
In the same way as like putting fucking a Jackson Pollock painting over the top of a like fucking movie is stylistic.
What, like Ex Machina? It's more like having like a David Lynch thing where your like frame rate is like really really high or really low, or something's like intentionally overexposed, but it's like not integrated into the film. It's just kind of like piss filter. And actually, that brings me full circle around into yet again another thing I hate about the series finale of book 3 is like everything is really, really ugly, and it's just this like horrible washed out like red and brown and black.
Yeah, when the Sozin's comment first appeared, it's like that looks nice,
and then it just stays.
But the thing is, it doesn't just It would have been nice if they kept using it to a good effect. And having like, man, I love red skies when they're done well. I love that kind of.
Yes.
I love that. If you've ever seen Hellsing, yeah, but like I love that shit, man. That shit's my fucking jam. Makes me like, I don't know. There's something so romantic about it. It really
about Hellsing or just red skies in general.
Like red skies. With like in a like dark ground. It just makes it's something so evocative about it. But
yes, definitely.
In this, you're right. It was just like
it's just ugly because it washes everything out. Like when you're meant to do red skies, you're talking like blood pure red almost. This is just like everything is like super duper high color temperature. It's like everything's like washed out orange. It's almost hard to see what's going on in parts.
And the
like,
whole boss fight is boring.
The boss fight is in like the most like okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's something that I've like so I'm writing like a really long essay on why book 2 of Korra is really bad at the moment. And one of the things I'm really focusing on is setting in Avatar. And something I've noticed, and I haven't gone through every episode, but for everything that I can think of off the top of my head, every single episode of Avatar has a unique setting that is explored by the characters. Like, I can't think of an episode that doesn't do that, besides like two-parters, which, you know, introduce a new setting, like Boiling Rock, for example. Every episode, something unique, and in a way that really contributes to an understanding of the world, and that characters really get to integrate themselves into and explore. And then it's so strange to me because like now that I'm thinking about that, it almost seems like a conscious design choice to be like, we want every episode to explore the world more and more and more in unique ways. Even like Great Divide and Painted Lady, which I hate, they both have unique. They both have
Painted
like
Lady
unique.
had a cool.
Yeah, it has a cool like thing going on, like
Yeah.
in concept. I don't like execution, but you know, at least it tried. With the boss battle, it's so strange to me because like the rest of the fight scenes typically have good locations, except the final Ba Sing Se fight underground has always kind of bored me.
Oh yeah, but
it's like
yeah.
Like, but then the Ozai Aang fight is like barren rock pillars.
It looks like some shitty episode of Wakfu.
It actually does. It looks like a filler location.
Yeah.
Where you're like, so there's rocks, and that's the whole thing. It's just like so ugly.
They were like, we need an excuse to have things to shoot, and things to get smashed into, and things to fly around in.
Well, what's always confused me is it's like so they do that so that the characters have like a huge stage to fight on, right? So why didn't they just fight in the like Fire Nation capital? Because before they established that everyone evacuates there, wouldn't it be really cool to have like a huge fight between Aang and the Fire Lord, like in the Fire Nation palace, and there's like, you know, maybe the Fire Lord uses the like ceremonial Fire Lord chamber thing, and there's like fight there.
Because that was kind of being set up as like, whoa, this is such a fucking like, this is like the final area. This is like getting to this.
Well, that's like the Black Sun kind of thing, the Day of Black Sun thing, where it's like we have to get to the Fire Nation capital as the prize. Yeah. But then maybe they thought it'd be weird if they went back there. And I guess Zuko and Azula are fighting there. Wouldn't it be their fights could have interacted with Aang and Ozai?
Yeah,
that could have been interesting.
Or like not interacted, like been in the same.
Like
area.
They're in the same world and they can like see the effects of the fight. Yeah, like it's so weird. Like,
although at the same time, I do kind of like. I would prefer it that they're sort of private-ish. It's like I'm settling my own business.
Like, okay, to be fair, like the Azula Zuko fight could have been like somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like if like you know, considering the Aang Ozai fight is like.
Yeah, it does make sense because that's like personal. Yeah. This is where we grew up. And this is what we're fighting for, like.
If you wanted that effect, they should have fought at like Ember Island at their old house. That would have been too bad. But they were staying on Ember Island. I don't know. Yeah. Like
that was weird too.
That they were staying
Ember Island, and also that they were like training there. and
Yeah, like-
having full-on battle simulations and no one really noticed or cared.
To be fair, like the Fire Nation had just been invaded, and it seemed like no one except really, really rich families went there. So like, I guess it's plausible. And plus, the Fire Lord's like private estate would have been like
True.
not touched. It's like, yeah, you know. But I feel like if you were to like establish that kind of thing, and like that is like fighting in a location that isn't shit, you could find some way to integrate it, as opposed to spending 2 episodes on a lion turtle, right? And especially like the other episodes of the series have like such great like fight locations that are so well used, like even something shitty like the perfume fight in like the Bado of the Water Tribe episode, where that's like they're fighting. There's like the monastery where the nuns make perfume, and there's like the that's the episode with June where she's tracking them down with the paralyzing mole thing. That's a cool fight scene. They're like flying around in there, and there's like some cool things done. It's like the perfume jars. It's like, oh, you actually used the setting.
Yeah.
You didn't just go to fucking rocks in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, rip. But yeah, setting is like so important, and that's something in Korra that's like really missing. How did you think Iroh was handled, especially after like the death of the voice actor in the 2nd season?
I felt it too much.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. I kind of like. I don't think they did the best I think they could.
Yeah.
But like, it just felt. It was sad though. Like.
Outside of his actual death, yeah.
Yeah, because it felt he was so kind of his voice actor was so very well tied to that character.
He has a very like non-replicatable voice.
Very distinctive.
Very distinctive.
And like that guy who replaced him did a very good job. Like,
that he was his like actual understudy, like
I
think his name's Greg Baldwin,
something like that.
Yeah.
But he did a good impression. Like it started out a bit rough, but he really But he like did it very well, but it's still
off. Yeah,
it was off.
Because
I don't blame him for it. Like he did it very well, but he just
really hard to imitate as well. Because the thing that's like interesting about Iroh is like the only one of the series that has like an actually really strong Asian accent at times.
Yeah.
He's like very rough, and then when he yells, his accent like just goes out the window, and he's like super duper like rough, and like his voice is very strange, but it fits his character very, very well. He's almost like very nasally at times, but I feel like it's like that's like impossible to replicate. For one, the emotionality is impossible to replicate, and just him. Even if you didn't know that Mako died, it's still like there's something off.
Yeah,
just hearing it.
It was a shame. Like I still like that scene where him and Zuko
reunite.
Yeah, that was still like affecting. But I was just thinking, this could have been so much more powerful if Mako was
Well, because we were discussing like, and this is something I've always wondered is like, because Iroh basically doesn't speak for like most of this season because he's in jail and he's ignoring Zuko, and then when he does talk to him, I think in the Avatar and the Fire Lord is like the first time he speaks when he's giving them the Roku's like prince thing, which is actually Sozin's. And that's like 2 lines, and that's the first time you're like, oh, it's a different voice actor. It like hits you, and you're like, oh, that's strange. And then he escapes from jail, and then you see him for like 5 seconds in the last episode, and then he's still speaking. The thing I really hate, there's this one line in that episode where Zuko's like, or some, like I think it's Sokka maybe, is like, so Iroh, what are you gonna do once you leave? And he's like, I am going to go to Ba Sing Se and buy a tea shop and play Pai Sho a lot. Like, oh no. It's like, why would you... It's like, I am stating my intentions as a character. It's dumb. But,
the Pai Sho is a bit much, but I think it was like nice. Like, I mean, like, that's like... I liked that. It's like, I'm getting my tea shop back, because that's like...
That's like a cool
I wanted
thing
that to happen. Like, it's like... No, his tea shop!
I like it. It's like, Aang, the end of the world is coming. Sozin's comet. You must defeat Ozai. Or you're like, fucking, will Iroh ever get his tea shop back?
Honestly, because that was such like...
Yeah.
I like that so much.
I love that that's like a whole subplot in the 2nd season. It's like...
I had more investment in that than fucking Aang's like plot at that point.
It's like, it's crazy like how well a fucking subplot about Iroh owning a tea shop is handled, because like you get to see that, like, another great example of setting. Ba Sing Se is explored from the bottom up with them. Like, they start as refugees. They go in the lower rungs. He goes to the middle rung with his tea shop, and then the upper echelon, and then eventually to the Earth King's palace, which is then actually Azula. And you're like, whoa, I've seen all of Ba Sing Se from like a working class perspective. That's really cool.
You know, the thing about that, I was just thinking, like, comparing that's something very pure about the show, very universal, human. But I'm thinking, my feeling about Korra is that it's going to be very, like, topical.
Yeah.
This applies to, like, this is, like, I'm just thinking, like, too many direct, like, ideological, almost, like, ooh, Black Lives Matter, like, not
and
that.
now the communists are here, and now the fascists are here.
No, not like that. Like, just like, so, like, I'm forcing by this, like, not by including elements that occur in our world as well, but like by having a direct parallel to something like in our time, it turns it into something where it's like
you have to make like modern day comparisons, or
I don't know. It's just
I understand what you're saying. Okay, but this brings up a really interesting question, because yet again, you don't know really anything about Korra outside of the main protagonist being female and brown and probably a lesbian. Maybe not though. So it's like, okay, what would your prediction be for like things that happen after Avatar and Korra as a series? Like not plot related, but like world related.
I was thinking like, okay, when the
also for reference, Korra is set, I think, 70 years after Avatar ends.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking. What I was wondering was like, I'm thinking, okay, Zuko sets up his new thing. Is there going to be like, is it going to turn to shit immediately? Like, is it going to be like, fuck the happy ending, or is it going to be like, okay, they have the thing, and then it's like then there's like new problems that arise out of like kind of an order that's nice enough, I guess, but then there's like still a world that's fucked, or is there going to be like, I don't know.
Okay, so like you got like 70 years after Avatar, so world peace is basically a thing.
Yeah.
What happens to the world, you know, as a whole? Like, what happens to the nations? How do they cope with the war? Because you've kind of got the Fire Nation is like, we've been in a war for 100 years, but our citizens are kind of, you know, they're normal, kind of like a post-war Germany sort of situation. But like, what do you think? What do you think happens to the nations? Maybe that's too hard of a question.
Yeah.
Maybe, okay, what do you think happens to the characters from the original series and how they would be portrayed in
Does Aang
Korra?
become like...
Because you got to think Aang is dead in Korra, obviously, because...
Yeah. Is Aang like, Simone, I'm gonna go reclusive and just walk around the earth now?
No.
Does Aang make babies?
Yes.
Okay.
Several.
Oh, okay. Zuko is king, obviously.
What do you think happens to like, Sokka or Suki or
I was
Toph?
thinking of Sokka. What happens to him? Maybe he just like never gets mentioned? Okay.
Yep. Well, briefly.
Okay. What about Katara?
Okay, this is such a dumb thing. They hired like a really like, I forget who she was, but she's like quite a famous old like film star.
Okay.
So Katara's like in her like 80s in Korra, I think. And so they hired this really expensive old voice actor, so she's like never in the show. She turns up, she like doesn't really have, I mean, like all the characters being old, so it's like hard to have a semblance of their like personality. She's just kind of like, I don't even know. She could literally be swapped out for anyone. She's so inconsequential. Fire Nation, never seen in Korra.
What?
Never seen.
What?
You don't see it at all. Zuko.
What?
Yep. Zuko is presumed dead until he turns up in season 3, like randomly. But you still don't see the Fire Nation.
Okay.
And he's not even the Fire Lord at that point. His daughter is, I think,
What?
or his granddaughter, but you don't know who his wife is, so you don't know if he ended up marrying May and having kids with her.
Oh.
You just kind of I don't know. I guess that's what happened. You never see Suki. You never see Azula, ever. You see Sokka. Okay, you see Sokka once in a flashback.
Okay.
Which is like a small part of one episode, and then he's never mentioned again, and it never explains what he did at all. The Earth Kingdom is not okay. So the whole thing is, Aang establishes a republic, I think with Zuko, and I think with the Order of the White Lotus, who are basically gems. Like, they're like a secret society, right? Who like keep like Korra like basically locked in like the South Pole for like most of her life until she's like an adult, and like don't let her out basically because she's training and they're like having to protect her. And Aang sets up like a republic where everyone from all the nations live together in a multicultural society, and it's like somewhere in the Earth Kingdom, I think. And then that's where they spend the entire first season. You don't see the Water Tribe except for like 5 seconds. You don't see any of the Earth Kingdom. Don't see any of the Fire Nation.
So they turn the world into like this boring, globalized, cosmopolitan hellhole.
Also, okay, so okay, so like Avatar replicates what, like 1500s, 1600s, like China, Japan, like Edo era Japan. What era do you think Korra set 70 years later emulates?
1800s, 1900s, 20th century, 21st century.
20th century, 1920s jazzy Hong Kong is like the aesthetic mixed with industrial. It's like...
Are there technological advances?
They have radios. And like... and cars, and in one of the subplots in the second season, this is so fucking ridiculous, is one of the characters being a film star and making films like early like motion pictures, like 20s like propaganda films.
Okay.
And it's like 70 years.
Man, that's strange. I would like to see how that plays out, because I always wondered, like, that's always been an interesting concept to me, like other worlds with modern technology, or like worlds like worlds with that kind of technological level alongside like fantastical magic stuff, or like parallel universes interacting. But like,
especially because it's not even like bending is like such a small thing in Avatar that like it doesn't have an effect on the world. Like a lot of the things, bending affects like how every day functions. Like you know, Marshu, like the entire like mail delivery system is all based on bending, and like, you know, the water tribes, like they open the gates with ice and the waterbenders, and it's all like, and you know, the Fire Nation being industrial is based on them, you know, having fire. So it's like all the elements of the world are based on basically functioning around people being able to bend. And then Korra is like, cars and radios exist, and it's like there's nothing in the world, like there's no natural evolution for like, oh, this would have worked for firebenders. It's kind of you got to see it to believe it for how bad it is.
Wow.
It's it's some next level shit.
I'm kind of curious now.
It's interesting because this is something I talk about in this thing that I'm going to release at some point. Given my track record for releasing things relating to Avatar on time, with this coming 8 months after I think the other podcast, hey, it'll probably be out in 2 years. It's 20,000 plus words long, which is all good. But one of the ideas I come across there is that that Korra is like the like Jungian shadow to Avatar. And to really understand why Avatar is so good, you kind of have to like, you know, you have to traverse its depths to really understand exactly, and you start to see all these flaws in Avatar, and you're like, man, that's fucked. but then it makes you appreciate it more. Because it's actually pretty good. Yeah, I think that's kind of like my collected thoughts on book 3. The other podcast I was doing like episode by episode, but I feel like that's like way too much. And it's also kind of like pedantic almost to really go through episode by episode.
I wish Katara died.
That would have been interesting.
Gay with Zuko.
Oh, that's a thing. People like that.
Oh yeah.
Aang and Zuko. No,
I just like if they started ruling together as gays.
Here's an interesting thing, because this is something I never came across until like I like was like browsing forums about the show, right? Like after it aired, and I didn't really like watch it when it aired when I was like a kid. Katara and Zuko were like a very, very popular shipping pair, like really popular. That which always kind of like has never really made sense to me.
Really, I kind of almost thought they were setting it up.
Yeah. They're like teasing it. Like the reason they're teasing it is because it was popular. Like I mean, you could argue the inverse, but there was like a big kind of like ooh, apparently.
It almost makes more sense than Aang and Katara to me.
It makes more sense if it has more development.
Because Aang and Katara are more like, oh, she's like the only girl I know, so I have to like fuck her.
Also, Aang is like gay as fuck like half the time.
He is fucking twinkle toes, dude. But like, what the fuck? They actually make fun of him
they even
for being
make
a little fucking.
They're like you're even like you're more in touch with your feminine side, and you're played by a woman in this play.
Toph is like making homophobic comments towards the entire series.
She should be fucking sterilized.
But like Zuko and her, like I mean, I prefer much like Zuko and whatever May.
May.
I
always say Mai for some reason, even though like, it's May.
Okay.
It always trips me out. It's like I'm hearing it phonetically, and then it's like I'm always like Mai. What the fuck, May?
Because she's fucking annoying, but like I think it's like they're like a good meme, like couple.
Yeah, they're a good like we hate everything, but it's kind of like almost like a joke, like not a joke pairing, but
sorry, I mean Katara and Zuko.
Oh, Katara and
like
Zuko.
they would be like the meme hookup because like
polar opposites,
or like not even opposites actually.
Okay, here's the thing. I get the appeal of it, like I mean. Okay, the thing is more for me, like, people were, like, convinced that this was going to happen.
Well, I was almost thinking,
really?
like, is she gonna cuck fucking Aang?
But, like, that would be, like, that would be some fucking next level shit. He's, like, the main character. Like, he gets dibs, basically.
Yeah.
And the whole show is, like, Katara, my waifu.
That would have been, like, Stranger Things.
Oh, that happens in Stranger Things?
Yeah, the Chad, like, keeps the girl at the end. And the fucking nerd gets cucked.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah,
they probably just... That. You know, like, I was looking... What was it? Like, top results for Pornhub. In California, cuckolding. Top search result, Pornhub.
Interesting.
So, you know, the Californians, they should create their own... What is it? Like, the... Republic of California. Calexit. They should Calexit.
They already are the Republic.
They should cuck themselves from the United States.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty hot.
What were we talking? Yeah.
I'm saying Katara and Zuko is like a strange pairing.
Was there anything else?
I suppose it's like... The only thing I have to say is like it's pretty crazy that you can talk for like almost 10 hours about a show like this.
Yeah.
And like, man, I can't think of many other things I could do that for. Like you could attribute that to its length. Like it's like...
like there's going to be like...
It's like 60 episodes long. But at the same time, it's like there's so much going on there, especially visual, and every time I see it, there's like, you know, like structurally, it's so infinitely expanding in just how clever it is in a lot of ways that were like previously like imperceptible to me. I'm not sure. I mean, it's a masterpiece in some ways, but it has flaws. But I think it's one of the few shows where the flaws are so well fit into how good the show is that they are like as good at elucidating exactly why, or more like
they're not
exactly
like so so strange, like.
Well, but if they are so strange, like the Lion Turtle
stuff, they do illustrate
stuff,
things about.
You're like, wow, this is exactly like how not to do this.
Yeah.
It's you know, in the same way that watching Star Wars will tell you how to, you know, do a bunch of different things in such a condensed package. So it's one of those things where it's like I can't recommend like re-watching it enough. Like you will almost certainly get something more out of it. Like,
Oh yeah.
I still like find myself catching like small visual references. I mean, the depth of the thing is fucking crazy. Like, I mean, yeah, the amount of man hours and like real passion that went into it is will never cease to astound me. I don't think, which is something that Korra definitely is missing. And more brings it down to like a baseline level of just like we're just making a show rather than like we're making like an amazing passion project that like everyone really cares about and everyone's like really dedicated towards. But yeah, I think rewatching book 3 made me like it a lot more.
Oh yeah, maybe I could like do that later at some point because like book 3, like I mean yeah, no, I liked it, but I feel like because I guess I was experiencing for the first time and I was kind of like it's one of those things where you're like
you're not able to sit back and reflect with pre-existing knowledge.
You're trying to like figure out what's going on.
Well, that's one of the crazy things. I mean, like, if you're able to rewatch, I think this is like my 10th or 11th time rewatching this. I've honestly like lost count at this point. It's like, you know, now that I have like a like very thorough understanding of like down to almost like, I mean, I don't think I've like memorized the dialogue of the show or something, but I know like, you know, the show almost like scene by scene, and it's like, it's crazy like that level of like intimacy with something. It just continues to open up, and like individual scenes are broken down to be more complex and more complex and more complex, and it's like man, they knew what they were doing. Like, they really knew what they were doing. But yeah, and it's like, I can't think of many other things I could ever do that for. I think, like, I've seen the film Stalker, like, 11 or 12 times now. Same thing for that.
I mean, like, any, if something's good, you can't really go wrong with repeat. Like,
but it's not only like repeat viewings, like
and getting new things.
But not even that. It's like you know, if you watch Citizen Kane 20 times, you'd have a different understanding of the film every time you watched it, right? And like a better understanding of the film, better understanding of so on and so forth. But not only that, it's like it has like an allure to it. Like, it's probably like a personal allure, but there's like a magnetism to it. Stalker has that, definitely.
I enjoyed the series watching it as well. Like, that was my first time.
That's the best thing I can hear from recommending someone something, because like, this is a show I've recommended to like a lot of people.
Yeah,
because it's like, it's one of those like pop culture things that people like will offhandedly mention or ask me my opinion on, and it's like, just watch the show.
Yeah,
like if you're like,
I don't know if you can really go wrong with it.
I can see some people dropping it in like the first season.
Yeah,
or not, or I don't know, like, how many people like would actively ever hate the show? It's kind of like unhateable. Like,
I can almost kind of wish like, because I can see like where like watching this as a kid, like the show cementing itself into your mind.
Yeah, because it's like, especially it being like it's so novel, and it isn't just like, because I feel like there are a few other shows that might have that like, well, this world is interesting, and it just falls apart somewhere else. But it's like, this show's like so solid. Like, I can just see like watching like 5 minutes of it as a kid and just being like, holy fuck, this is amazing. Like, what am I watching?
Kind of makes me sad that I missed out on that. I mean, I still like the fact that I was able to watch it now and like experience it like this, but
well, it's almost cool like having because I said, I never saw like the whole thing as a kid. Like, I probably saw about like 30 to 35% of it, like just random episodes, and it's almost like a cool way to view it when you're watching it later, where it's like your childhood, like not even nostalgia, but your childhood memory specifically of it is like weird and cloudy. Like, not knowing. I was mentioning to Sean before we started the podcast that I actually, for some reason, I got the conception that like Iroh was like another version of the Avatar. Like, what the fuck? Like, for some reason I thought he was an earthbender. I don't know why. And he was also a firebender. I don't know. We're debating that maybe because he looks like Roku very slightly.
You had a plausible explanation because you watched like as the
bit of work, the lightning teaching episode where Iroh's talking about lightning redirection coming from studying the waterbenders, and I might have been like, oh, he's the Avatar. 4 elements, Avatar. But yeah, like just weird conceptions about like where things came in the series, but it's cool kind of clarifying that. And like, because people are like, oh yeah, that show's good, isn't it? And then they rewatch it and they're like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
whoa, it actually like is a thing. Like, you know,
Like it's a. Yeah.
it's not just like the same with like Star Wars. Well, maybe not so much, but because Star Wars is actually like kind of known to be good and fun. Bad.
Sorry.
You don't like Empire? Empire is a pretty good film.
I've seen it
Come
in
on.
years.
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Oh no. Sorry. What's the last one? Return of the Jedi. Fuck off. They all have dumb titles.
Yeah.
It's
No, I
just
was just trolling you. I actually don't have an opinion on Star Wars because I haven't watched it in so long. When actually I need to, even though like I can remember everything about A New Hope, but I can't remember anything about the others.
maybe that's what it is. It's like inherently like iconic.
Yeah.
There's so much like iconic imagery in Avatar, and so much like not even like you were mentioning like the intro like, and then the Fire Nation attacked. It's kind of like a meme, but honestly, it's more just like an iconic thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's weird like watching something and it feeling inherently iconic. Like when you watch like Star Wars for the first time.
You know, the thing about Star Wars is it doesn't even feel like I haven't watched it in ages. It feels like it's just in my head. I'm thinking like it's so strange to say like I haven't seen that since I was a kid, even though it feels like I watch it every like few years, even though I haven't watched it in like a decade. It just seems
We
so
haven't
like,
watched it in a decade, really?
like yeah, or longer.
I probably watched them like once every like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I haven't seen Star Wars in a long time, but it still feels. It doesn't feel like I haven't seen it in a long time.
It feels like that because like the Disney Corporation are refreshing your mind waves with it.
It's more like there's no memory of the first time watching Star Wars.
Yeah, same.
It's just like always, like it's just like cemented in my brain.
It's such Star Wars is probably unique in that it's such a like grand pop culture
Like
thing.
ubiquitous.
Yeah, that kind of like that's my thoughts. It's your thoughts.
Yeah, it's
It's good. If you haven't seen this in a while, just rewatch the whole show.
basically.
You basically can't. Yeah, you almost can't go wrong in it. If you're like, man, I like this show. I can't imagine you rewatching it and disliking it.
Because I
honestly.
watched like because you like told me to watch it. I watched like the first like 8 episodes, and then I like didn't watch them for ages.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of I wasn't bored. Also because I think like no, I swapped computers and I just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, to be fair, like you really got to push through the first couple of episodes, and then it honestly pays off in reverse in a kind of nostalgia. Like I appreciate the first like kind of like that languid like we're just having fun, just flying around doing jack shit. Like the episodes aren't amazing, but it's still kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know, before it gets into serious shit. But yeah, like that's it. Watch the other things in the description, like the other videos and the video essay that isn't amazing, but you should still check it out. And also maybe the thing for Korra that'll be coming out in about 15 years when I'm done collecting.
I'm gonna be looking forward to that.
Yeah, when I'm done collecting all of the research in the world for this whole show and then spending like about 100 autistic little hours editing about 10 minutes of it. Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah, see ya.